Hey guys, tonight's episode is brought to you by AP Prep. That is AP Prep in Chillicothe, Ohio. One of our good old buddies, Jason Prater, started this business a long time ago, man, and they earn every day at AP Prep. So if you're sitting around, maybe carrying a few extra pounds, much like myself and, being a chubby bartender, and you want to get your fat ass to work, get over there, get a hold of Jason Prater at AP Prep. Or maybe you're a young athlete that wants to be your best you. Earn the day at AP Prep. This episode is also brought to you by Gillum Insurance, specializing in life, farm, auto, home, and commercial insurance. Give them a call at 740-395-0357 for a quote today. If you want to get treated right, save a little money, and make sure your stuff is covered properly, Gillum Insurance is Chubby Bartender endorsed. This episode is brought to you by your locally owned and operated McDonald's restaurants. They have been proudly serving Jackson and the surrounding area for over 40 years. Thank you to all of the communities that have supported us throughout the years. We truly appreciate your business. Get in there and try one of those apple fritters, man, and the other baked goods. The man's got it going on. The Chubby Bartenders is also brought to you by Geiger Brothers. Bringing value to the construction process is our main priority, the cornerstone of our reputation, and the mission of our business. A company-wide philosophy focused on collaboration and teamwork, delivering excellence to our clients' projects. With over 110 years of continuous service to Southern Ohio, Geiger Brothers embraces the challenges presented to us, and while steadfastly maintaining the core values that set us apart: commitment, knowledge, and innovation. Whether your project requires a design build or construction management delivery method, or simply requires Geiger Brothers to self-perform process piping, specialized code welding, heavy rigging, civil and structural work, or mechanical services, do not hesitate to call them at 740-286-0800. Geiger Brothers, ladies and gentlemen. Great guys. Chubby Bartender endorsed. Okay.
Well, Scott King, ladies and gentlemen, that's who we
Welcome,
have tonight.
Scott.
Welcome,
Yep.
Sir. Yeah. Scott is
welcome to the Cigar Smoke, Scott.
I'm fine. Thanks for having me.
Yes, we are on the coffee, though, you know.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
We got the Stanley thermoses out
Hey,
tonight,
yes.
man.
Chad's got his.
yeah.
You got it with you over
I
there?
sure do,
Or is
man,
it
yeah.
Oh, hey. How about a little Stanley's cheer?
It's right
there?
here. Yeah. We're working for a sponsorship here.
Exactly.
Well, usually I see you guys consuming other things. And
Yes.
tonight you bring
Well,
coffee.
well,
this is not going to be an all-nighter or
Well,
something
no,
like that, is it?
occasionally we have been known to go coffee on these. We have. I
We
mean,
have, it's one of those deals where we feel like whenever the conversation needs our A game,
Yes.
then we better drink the coffee,
yeah.
and
This could be coming.
we kind of like to portray ourselves as barroom advice, and every now and then a cup of coffee at the bar might be a good idea.
we like to show all the full range.
Yeah.
You can never go wrong with coffee.
Now we love. We love our Busch Latte and
bourbon.
and our bourbon. We've been doing a lot of bourbon lately.
Yeah.
We're actually due a night of coffee. Because
we were,
I'm
Got pretty physical with
I'm gonna
Massey.
put myself in the penalty box on that. I need a night of off the 100 proof.
Yeah.
I was getting pretty slurry at the end of those podcasts.
I think they're kind of straying a little bit. here.
It
all
gets
right.
pretty random.
Yeah, but no, man. Well, thanks for coming on. So you are from the Southern Ohio Krav Maga. You are the founder and CEO and head instructor, and just the whole deal. And you just brought us. You just gave us a tour of your office, and I had no idea. I had an idea, but I didn't realize the extent of everything that you've done. So we're going to talk about a lot here.
Oh, I'm ready.
You're
And that's
ready,
why
huh?
I thought, you know what, maybe it's no telling where this could go, because I've watched you two, I've studied, and I thought,
Well, to be honest with you, we don't know.
That's how it goes. You see how it goes.
if we get into some things, at least be able to back it up and give them some
Oh,
confidence.
hey.
that, okay,
Well,
yeah,
I'll
okay.
tell you though that very interesting office, I could probably spend a couple hours in there and completely wear you out with questions. But I mean, I imagine it. I imagine it. Huh?
You have since we left.
I know. I haven't stopped. I imagine though that you probably enjoy talking about that stuff. Or not. I mean, because sometimes that stuff can be difficult to talk about.
No, I like talking about it. I mean, I think it's just woven into the fabric of who you become. You know.
Well, I mean, guys, just to give you a quick tour here mentally. I mean, it basically is a chronicle. It is a chronicle of Scott's service record in military, law enforcement, private security forces, Krav Maga. I mean, it is, and let me tell you something. It is not undecorated. It is a really neat. I mean,
you may need a bigger office.
Yeah. I'd say you've got enough material.
Smaller life.
Yeah.
So I saw on your I think it was your Facebook page. You had all your stuff that. You're formerly this, formerly how you list your job stuff, and man, you've been a part of a lot. So you're originally from Southern Ohio, obviously Southern Ohio Krav Maga. Grew up right down the road, and then so take us in from age 18. Take us after you graduated high school.
I enlisted in the Marine Corps, the delayed entry, and
were you into what was your high school life like? Were you because now, I mean, you're a fighting instructor now. So, I mean,
I wasn't an instructor then.
Yeah.
The fighting was present. But that was the learning stage, I guess. And being from Wellston, too, it's just sort of a, it's a prerequisite, I guess.
Sure, that Mustangs.
Yeah.
Were you involved in a lot of sports and stuff like that in high school, or what?
Not really. There was I'll call it a season, but no more. It's like more of a season in life where I went over to Chillicothe. Don Madden, you guys know Don Madden? I was on a boxing team over there.
Oh, okay.
And Don is a worldwide legend in the martial arts, but he also taught boxing.
Okay.
And he was a great mentor. But I spent a little bit of time there. And,
so you had interest in getting some training then?
Yeah, I looking back now, I think so. You're young and you don't really know what you're doing. You just think, I'd like to try that.
Yeah.
So you get in, you do it. Organized sports. My buddies, we were seniors, and they'd all came up playing football. They're all through school. I never did, but we played. So the senior year, they said, "Come out, let's all finish together. Let's get we'll do this together."
That's cool.
He said, "You're going to get a pity letter if nothing else. We know you don't know what you're doing, but we're going to help you." I said, "Oh, okay, I'm on board with this." Yeah, and it's a good story, but it's kind of a regret too. So we go halfway through the season. And back then, I want to say Jody Michael was coach, but I think we also had Paul Blankenship.
Oh, yeah.
Now date yourself. What year did you graduate?
81.
81.
Cool. Okay. So I've been out a little bit.
Yeah.
I've been out a little bit. And every Wednesday at practice, you could challenge someone for their starting position. That was kind of the rule. And that was the thing. If you beat them in this series of drills, then you can start. Even if it's the kickoff, you're going to hear your name on the loudspeakers, and then we're going to get you out of there before you make a mistake. So anyway, we did this. I earned my place to start, and I didn't get it. And being a dumb kid, I was a little bit disgruntled with it. And we were halfway through the season.
Hard part's over.
And I said, I'm done.
And you quit.
I said, why they come and said, well, why are you doing this? I said, because. Don't you want to play football? I said, yeah, I want to play football, but all I get done is practicing football.
Right.
So out I went, and I regret that.
Well, though, how many people have that story? I got the same story in college football, man. Like, I mean, but it's really tough to get back and grab that 18-year-old and say, hey, man, you're going to look at this differently one of these days.
Everything,
But I look at it, though, as, man, it's a great lesson learned. Early in life.
Do you think some of that may be why you've went on and done so many things? I mean, or had a drive to succeed, I guess, or because you're very, after being through your office, you're very what's the word I want to say? I don't want to say like civic minded, but in a way like
very driven, very service oriented.
Very service oriented is Yeah.
The noble answer would be to say yes. I learned to, but I got to tell you, we're going to be truthful here tonight. Mostly. No, I don't think it had an effect on that. I mean, in later life, when we reflect, I look back and think,
wish you'd have finished.
Well, come on, man.
But was this a key piece? No.
No, but it gives me, I think it doesn't come into play. It's one of those things that goes in your back pocket, and then later on
you don't
in
play
life,
it unless you need to.
Yeah. When your kids,
well,
they're saying, no, let me tell you a story about something I did, and I regret it. So boom, that's the lesson.
And then you're also coaching several people in Krav Maga to some extent. And you might have somebody that's maybe showing some promise, and they're like, I'm quitting, man, I'm done. You got a story to share with them.
Yeah, and it helps. But if anything, as far as the path that kind of my life I've kind of carved out was, I think what happened is you just find something you like and that you're kind of good at.
Yeah.
And you just gravitate toward it.
Did you think that started at Paris Island then, when you graduated and went?
I have no doubt. I mean, that was in me early. I mean, even as a kid.
So you leave high school, you go enlist in the
Marine Corps.
In the Marine Corps. Okay.
Paris Island.
Yeah. And had you already determined, like, did you know at a younger age, like, hey, look, I'm going to go into the military.
Oh yeah.
And I want to be a Marine.
Yeah. It drove my parents crazy.
Oh, okay.
I think they wanted me just to settle down. And back then, the coal mines were booming. And 18-year-olds were making, driving around
30, 40 grand. And,
big money back
big money
then.
back then.
I said, I don't care. I want to go this way. So I did. And that was, that experience started.
Yeah.
So how many years did you do in the Marine Corps?
3 years.
You did 3 years.
Just 3 years, in and out. Yeah.
In and
I
out.
came straight out, almost straight out. You take time to decompress or whatever, or just loaf for a couple weeks, and then I went into law enforcement shortly after that, and then started working that line.
Yeah. Which I didn't realize how many webs were off of that line till about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, about 20 minutes ago. Yeah. I mean, did you start just, like a, what do they call it? Like a patrolman or sheriff's deputy or what did you start with?
I would say, the first job I think I had was come out. I was a driver's license examiner.
Oh my!
For the highway patrol.
Used to just scare the shit out of kids with.
It was the other way around.
They scared.
I saw the Department of Transport, or was it Department of Transportation? No, whatever it was.
The
PUCO.
PUCO.
Yeah, PUCO. I saw your PUCO badge over there in your thing.
So what happened there was,
my God, this guy's done everything.
Yeah, I think those guys. I got scary stories from that too.
Yeah.
But I worked there a while, and then just a couple years, and I went to PUCO. And then what happened there was you begin to, oh man, there's a lot of stuff going on there simultaneous. It's like you got this burst of energy, and I started going to school, picking up training, got my OPATA certification. And
what's that?
Ohio Peace Officer Training. Well, Ohio Peace Officer Training Council, or OPATA is Ohio Peace Officer Training Academy, but you get certified as a police officer. Okay. And I really started showing a knack for working drugs, narcotics, and out on the highway working. And I went back then. There wasn't a whole lot of interdiction as we know it now.
Interdiction.
When you're setting up, you're trying to get the loads coming in.
Yeah. Does PUCO, are they active in that or
no?
Okay, but
they weren't.
Now, do they work? We'll get back to that. I just want to reset this with PUCO. Do they work in conjunction with the State Highway Patrol, or are they a branch or what?
Yes, and yeah. At the time, we were separate state agencies, but we kind of shared the road, and you'd see us parked in the crossovers together and having coffee and stuff. And what happened was, the PUCO just regulates the commercial trucking industry from a safety standpoint. Are your tires flat? Is your truck safe to be on the road? Is the load falling off, breaking people's windshields and stuff like that? But on the interstate, 35, I worked a lot over around 75, 71, outside Cincinnati. And I began to I began to get these guys, you'd cite them for drug possession, alcohol possession, DUI. And it was in the regulations, but
that wasn't really what your primary mission was, probably.
Well, it was there, but it just wasn't enforced. You know how you guys have ever been involved in something, all of a sudden you bring the new young blood in, And it's like, this kid is stirring things up. And, he's not doing anything wrong, but he's doing too many things right. And so you begin to kind of stand out. Some ways good, and then for the old regime, it was
they're kind of like, hey, look, dude, hey, be more like Scott, guys, and they're all like,
then you got the other, the politicians in Columbus said, leave that to the patrol. Come on, we don't want to get into that messy stuff, but we did. I drug them in through that, and like I say, in the meantime, I'm getting training on the side, and Butch Hayburn. Do you guys remember?
Oh, heck yeah.
Sheriff Hayburn, a longtime family friend. He gave me my first commission to go through the school, and then I began to volunteer up here, and then I think in 1980 I worked with some drug task forces, but in 1980, I'm going to say 96, sorry, 96, I became a felony investigator for the Athens County Prosecutor's Office.
Okay.
And 85% of those duties involved running this drug task force based out of Athens, which was like an 8-county from Marietta, Morgan County, all the way down to Scioto, just like down along the river. And that was, I went to work every day in Athens in an office, but then I had 6 agents, and you dispatch them to different places, and then that's how you generate. You work with those sheriffs and those prosecutors in those counties.
So would that have been? No, that wouldn't have been the Bureau. I saw you were also part of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms.
They sent me to school, advanced undercover investigative techniques in Glencoe at their academy.
Glencoe, I've heard.
And that was Glencoe. That was a couple weeks. Glencoe, Georgia, Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, and then we worked cases with them, and I got certificates of appreciation. And
and then you also were with the DEA, correct?
DEA. I wasn't with these guys, but you go there and you work. We work together. DEA, I went to it's called Drug Unit Commanders Academy, and then by then I was a lieutenant at Ross County Sheriff's Office running. And the reason they pulled me in is because they wanted, I could write grants. And that's kind of nice. And anytime you find someone that can bring money in, come on board with us.
There's a lot of money out there, isn't there?
It was a lot of money.
Yeah, a lot of money.
It was a lot of money. And the funny thing was, they were when I say they, Ron Nichols was the sheriff there at the time, and he was really ambitious, and his heart was in the right place. I think he was stretching the boundaries of the kind of the sheriff's office. At some point in time, it almost crossed over from being a law enforcement agency to a social service agency. They had programs getting involved with seniors and all this, and senior care, and picking people up, and which was a nice thing. Right. But it still draws resources from what you've got
from what your
there.
Primary mission is.
We weren't affected by that too much because we were. I was a lieutenant over the Special Investigations Unit, and once again, that was all task force and vice crimes and undercover work. But it's funny because through the grant, one of the hard sales with him is I said, look, we need to start this task force now, because I've dealt with them at the state, and I think I know what's going to appeal to them. If you submit a packet saying, we want you to fund this, they're going to read it, and they're going to sit and talk about it. And I said, but what I like to do is come around. I want to try a different strategy. Let's get this in operation, and then I want to put numbers on this, where we've did forfeitures and seizures, arrests, convictions, and so on. And my catch line to them is going to be, I'm not asking you to fund a philosophy. I'm asking you to fund a project. We're already doing this. We're already showing success. Bam. They bid on that, and then I think it still may be funded. I don't know, but for several years.
Yeah. So did the Krav Maga journey start during this time, or this is probably a different story?
First of all, let's tell everybody. I mean, if we're going to Krav Maga, let's tell everybody what Krav Maga is, because I'll be honest with you. I mean, I've known you around Jackson here for some time. I mean, a few years anyway, and I didn't really know what it was until here recently. I was at the YMCA and saw the class, and I was like, shit, they're over whipping ass.
Yeah, well, I remember the first time he was doing advertisements on Facebook when he first started, and I was like, man, what is? I googled the heck out of that, man. I'm like, ooh, Israeli special for wow.
Okay, Krav Maga. It's 2 words. They're both Hebrew, and it stands for contact combat. And that sounds like wow, really exciting and stuff. But it's. And this is when I go do seminars and stuff, I try and explain to people. I never say that Krav Maga is better or this or that. I always just say Krav Maga is different. And Krav Maga, it makes no apology. It is Israeli. It's from Israel, and it's very aggressive. And I say Krav Maga it's not a technique-based system. In other words, I don't worry about how
noticed that.
Well you throw it's aggression.
It's repeated.
It's philosophy.
Yeah,
and
it seems like from what I watched it seemed like a very what I want to say. I don't want to say actions packed, but like it seemed like a very not attack, but if you're being attack back, and here's how you're going to do it
as hard as you can.
As hard as you can. That's just from the 4 classes I've been on the other side of the gym and watched. Because Gibson does the P3.
Oh yeah.
So. I watched it, and I mean, you've got 30, 40 people over there sometimes.
It used to be big.
It used to be,
before the COVID stopped it in its tracks, but now it's starting to grow again, gradually come up. And then the beautiful thing about this is on as we go through this next evolution, is it's all new faces. And I like that, because it's reaching more. It's reaching more people.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of new people in there, man. It's, I think you've built up a great thing. So tell, what could you? Okay, so you learned, you started this journey of combat. What was it? Combat.
Contact.
Oh, yeah, contact combat.
Contact combat. So you start learning all this stuff into, you're going through all these different agencies, and was this something that you just got? Where did you figure this out at? Because not everybody's going to say, oh yeah, I'm going to research.
Yeah, and my question along with that is, Scott, why Krav Maga?
Okay, yeah, that's a great
because
question.
there's all kinds of martial arts out there. Or is this a martial art? Or?
Well, it's lumped in there. We say we're heavy on the martial and light on the art.
Okay.
So, Krav Maga, it makes no apologies. I don't think anything in it is original. Meaning, a punch is a punch, a kick, a roundhouse kick, a kick to the jewels, eye gouges, throat strikes, whatever you can do. All that has been developed from somewhere. But I think what Krav Maga does is it takes the things that I don't want to make this sound too dramatical, but this is part of where it gets into the philosophy of things. If it can hurt you and cause damage, then we can use that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to waste my time on something that's just going to get your attention. If it's time for me to employ those tools off my belt, then I need to put this threat down immediately. And
very action oriented. Take action now.
Direct action. Yeah. And I've had people ask me before, and they say, "Well, have you ever had to use your Krav Maga?" And in their mind, they're thinking, have you ever had to beat somebody up? Or I said, no, I use it every day. And this is where I think I will say one of the things that helps, I'm not even going to say set apart, but distinguish Krav Maga, and it's more of what I say a holistic system, meaning that back on do you use it? I use it every day. Is the first thing is situational awareness.
So not only physical, but psychological.
Well, and I think this is why you find a lot of the, the special forces and the anti-terrorism units kind of drifting toward this. They may not call it Krav Maga, but when you talk to them, well, yeah, we've been sent to Israel to learn something, or we've had an Israeli join us to learn something, which goes back to how I got started in this.
Okay.
So it's
the chokeholds, some of that stuff. Oh, it's BJJ. The elbows. Oh yeah, it's all Muay Thai.
Yeah. Okay.
But when you begin to put all of this together, and then what happens with Krav Maga, and here's where I think it distinguishes itself is you introduce that that ability to recognize threat, react to it, in a very aggressive manner if you can't get away.
Right.
And when I do the seminars, I think people come in, and even sometimes at the class, they expect some type of magic pill or some kind of ninja tactic, and I say no. The best self-defense is don't be there.
Self-awareness.
That's right.
Self-awareness. Don't be there. I recognize that threat. I pull out. I can tell you overseas, that saved me more times than anything.
That's a lifesaver. That's not a let's get you home. That saved your life.
Exactly. Just you look at it,
because you're dead and you're overseas.
You're going,
you're dead
and it's over.
And that's what I mean. Not that this. This is where the Chubby Bartenders gets chubby, But I had that scare last week with not that I was going to die, but I'm saying like the awareness factor. It can happen in anything, right? So you said use it every day. Okay, so you're talking about self-defense, but I'm sure you're aware on other topics as well. You're just trying to stay alert. If you're alert in one thing, odds are you're going to be alert in another, right? Well, you're staying that way.
When we were coming up the stairs, Chad made a comment like, I was always interested in the ride. I said, no, we've all got this in us. The key thing is, and this is where I like to, mentor or coach people, is learn to listen to that voice, because the way we're wired, when something's not right. And it's happened to us here. I don't want to call anybody out, but there are local businesses here that after 10, 11, 30 at night, you go in and you see people milling around outside, and you think, I really want that little Debbie, but it's probably not worth it. I will call this business out because it always happens to me every time. Whenever I'm in Columbus and it's time to come home, and the gas tank is on like quarter tank, and you think, okay, when I came through Circleville, it was this price. You look out, it was this price. But it's really cheap here at that Speedway on South High Street. You know which one I'm talking about? So
I think 23.
So and it's always dark out, and you always pull in, and there's people milling everywhere, and you can see shadows in the bushes, and you see cars parked over in the alley with people up to the passenger window. You think,
a street I think's really dark in town, and I do a lot of late night jogging or walking in town. Portsmouth Street. Have you noticed how dark?
It's kind of dark. Yeah.
Man, it's dark down in there too, man. I was like, man, we need some light. And it's not that there's not light, but what it seems like the trees have just gotten so big and it just covers them up. But I think a lot of people. I almost knocked that over. I think a lot of people. Maybe it's just me. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but okay. So take it from. I've never taken any type of self-defense, no karate, no nothing. Okay, I did a boxing thing with Prater, and I did a boxing thing in Nelsonville. Whenever I was going to hockey, I did. Whenever to that, I forget the name of it now. I should know this, but whenever there a couple times. Other than that, I know nothing. But if I hear the term Krav Maga, or even Muay Thai, or I know Curtis J. John. He does Bondo.
Great friend of mine.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. You hear those things, and I don't think that people really. It's easy on the top level of that. It's real easy to say, oh, that's just some self-defense class, or well, I don't think I need that. I don't need to be any tougher, I guess, or they think, well, that's just something to go beat somebody up or something. They think that, but what they don't really – this is what I've noticed just in recent YouTube discoveries on watching guys like you, watching the Krav Maga. There's another guy, the Taylor guy. Or is it Taylor?
Joe
Taylor. He's doing something. I don't know.
BJJ.
Okay.
And he's
what's
good
BJJ?
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, okay. And then Curtis does Bondo. So then I've really got into watching UFC here lately, okay? And just, last night we got to talk about the Tyson fight last night, too. Did you watch it?
No.
I did. It was awesome. But anyway, so I watch, and you hear these guys, obviously we watch a lot of Rogan. You watch Joe Rogan?
Sometimes. I've seen some of his podcasts. Yeah, he's good.
He's real. He's the best in the world. But, I've realized that it's more of a, they'll use different areas. It's not about just whipping somebody's ass. It's more about, number one, it's keeping you more alert. It's kind of like that lifestyle thing. Like you'd have to kind of be looking for it to find it, but it's a lifestyle or a
I would call it a discipline.
Yeah, discipline. Perhaps, but I think that's a bad word to use for it because that's a scary word for a lot of people, But does this make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I mean,
how do you look at like those classes? How do you see them?
I mean, I don't know, man. I think I would probably be your regular ham and egger out there that, took a Taekwondo class when I was in, elementary school or something, and would always ask, like, well, what belt are you, man? Well, what belt have you achieved or whatever?
And you could ask that. And so what if somebody said yellow? Would you have any clue what that meant?
No. But what I'm saying is, though, I separate that when I'm looking at Krav Maga, and I could be completely wrong. It just seems more functional than like Taekwondo or something like that. Which, I mean, I don't know anything about them, but like,
but see, it's not its own style, is it? Or it's using a lot of those styles.
That's what I mean. It just seems functional. I mean, like, somebody tries to do something to somebody that's trained.
Oh, it's over there, isn't it?
No, it's in my pocket. It's
good.
I'll call him back. No.
Well, you can hit the button if you want to, or whatever does that. Stops that. There you go.
Yeah. If somebody, I mean, but like, this
you're
is.
You're not gonna be rude, man. We're smoking cigars. We're usually drinking coffee, cussing. So
it's fine.
Feel real good about yourself right now.
But no, I mean, I look at that as like, okay. And I used to. I've given this drunken philosophy many times.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chad Riddle did.
Yeah. Okay. Like let's say I'm training in Taekwondo. I'm not picking on Taekwondo. I'm just using that. I took like classes for a year when I was a little kid. Okay. Big class. I mean, What I would say to that is, it seems like, okay, that is a very good fighting style, probably, if I'm fighting somebody else in like a match where they're using Taekwondo as well, and it's technique based, and I'm trying to score with particular punches or something. But like, to say that would translate to the real world if somebody came up and put a gun to my head or something, I guess that would be my take on it.
Yeah,
that's deeper than me.
Yeah, you're going. Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right, and not to disrespect Taekwondo.
No, and that's the last thing I was trying to do.
Yeah. All of our kicks and stuff.
Yeah, that's
come from Taekwondo. Because they're great. Our knees and elbows is Muay Thai, so on. But this goes to why
the elbows, man. UFC's opened that whole thing up to me. I didn't realize the damage you could do with an elbow.
Oh, they're amazing. And there's a If you want to break it down mechanically, I mean, I got the scars on them because I've just thrown so many. But you can open up somebody like with a can of sardines with these things.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I've got to be close to employ these.
Yeah.
So and usually I like to have keys to open up the door, boom, headbutts and so on, which takes me in closer because once I go on the advance or the my defense is my attack. So I'm just going. I don't want to sound dramatic, but once I flip that switch and go,
that's what Krav Maga is. That's the switch.
And there's probably I imagine in your classes and everything you have to probably figure that trigger point at some point. Like, when do I employ this skill?
That's where the situational awareness comes in. Now, in class, I call it go button. You have to decide when to hit your go button. Right. So let's go back to Speedway up on South High Street.
Okay.
So we're pumping our gas. Our family's in the car. We've all been in these scenarios now.
Yeah. And it may have never happened to you. It's never happened to me. But it could.
Yeah. So here comes the person up. Hey, what time is it? Have you got a light? And they're shuffling and see right away. There's, I guess, like a German Shepherd in me. My hair begins to stand up, and I'm like, say what's up.
Yeah.
And I used to get, even out here, even at our Walmart, I've told people, I said, that's close enough. What do you want? My wife says, why are you so mean to people?
Yeah.
What if that was
2020, man? I mean,
and I say, because I understand that unless they have a weapon, they have to get close to me to hurt me.
Yeah.
And so it's easier for me because the best self-defense is not me beating them down or it's me not being there.
Right.
I don't know what time it is. No, I don't smoke. I don't, go away. It's okay to be rude if you start to feel threatened. And this is when I do the seminars.
And this is where you're not saying that that's the way you are. If I walk, I've walked to you several times. You've never told me to get the hell away.
But it's a threatening manner.
But if it's threatening to you, then it's like
it's when you get that
there's
feeling,
a button,
Yeah. And the funny thing about seminars when I go around, whether I'm doing, kids are my favorite. I work with developmentally disabled. I work with elderly. And, at some point in time, like the DD and the elderly, it crosses over, and it's not, I don't call it self-defense. It becomes self-protection.
Right.
Because you protect yourself, make noise, get out, draw attention to yourself. That's why fire trucks and police cars have sirens, because they want us looking and saying, "Oh my, what's going on over there?"
Yeah,
and then you go help.
Yeah.
But so you run a 2 or 3 hour seminar, and let's say I've got a women's group or church group or something, and you have to. I call this the CPU because I want to speak common language everyone understands, and they're having fun, and I want to make it lighthearted. I don't scare people. If they're smiling and laughing, they're more open. To learning,
sure,
and they absorb more. But so you got to pack all this stuff in, and I start with situational awareness, and by the end of the session, their shirts are sweating. They're like, this is because you might never see them again. You never get them back.
Yeah.
So you want to download as much onto their hard drive as you can, and equip them. And I've been validated with that a lot of times with stores that came back and said. Let me run through this. How could this play out real quick? Without naming locations or names or times or anything like that, there have been times I've went to. One of the things I do on the quiet, you don't see this on the web, is, you go to the domestic violence shelters and you work with them. And so there have been instances that have trickled back there and said, what you taught me, it helped me in this situation, and then your eyes just fill with tears when you hear what what they were in.
And are you saying that, like, even if somebody had one class and learned some of these techniques, that they could apply that immediately, or I mean, it's probably got just like anything else, you have to practice it over and over again.
Chad, that's what I want to believe.
Okay.
But still, it's like. You can give someone information, and even they'll feel. I love the word empowerment, because in the seminars you have a magic moment where you see people begin to realize, man, I can do this. I don't have to be, But
I've watched them in your class.
Yeah.
I've watched them just some shit out of a bag.
They enjoy it.
And they're into that.
Mm-hmm. So they have fun, but you can give them this information, you can teach them, you can show them stuff, but at the end of the day, it's going to be tag, you're it now. Right. You've been given this, and what you do with it is
there.
It's up
there,
to you. That's why I come back around and I say, aggression is so important. Aggression will. I'm going to go as far. You see these instructors say 90% of the time. I'll go as far as say almost 100% of the time, aggression will overcome technique. Knowing technique just makes your aggression hurt more.
Oh yeah.
When I teach kids to get them to be mean because they're timid anyway, I always have a joke, and I say, okay, over there in that trash can, I said, before we start, on the way in, I picked up this little raccoon, but I said, it's got rabies. You guys know what rabies is? And they, oh yeah. And I said, rabies makes it kind of crazy. I said, it's over there thrashing and clawing and biting. I said, I need a volunteer to go over there and get that and get it out of here. And nobody raises their hand. And that's exactly what I want. Because I say, why no one raises their hand? And the funny thing is, when the adults, they're standing along the wall going, yeah, I don't want to get that thing either. You know why? Because when you reach down in there, I said, well, what's the big deal, guys? We weigh 100 pounds more than it. We're smarter than it. We have full capacity of all of our limbs, and we have a plan. We can formulate things. I said, but no one wants to reach in there and grab that. You know why? Because it's crazy. In your mind, you picture that running up your arm and clawing your face and eyes. And I said, guess what? When you feel scared and someone grabs you, that's what you've got to do. And they get it. And I say, now let's have fun.
Yeah.
So they understand it.
Yeah. That's I I believe that 100%. I mean, with the aggression and the meanness, I mean, much different scenario, but I coached football for many years and played it. And I mean, I'll tell you what, man, give me a guy with a go. That's mean. I mean, technique's great. I mean, the better your technique, the better player you're going to be. But man, you can't coach a motor.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, even in law enforcement, I've always said, I'd rather arrest a martial art black belt than I would someone all cranked up on bath salts or meth.
Oh my!
Because they go crazy.
They're the raccoon.
They're unpredictable. They're dangerous. There's no methodology.
So like with the Krav Maga, you what dialed you into it, and where did you learn it? I mean,
okay, well, this is funny because I can go right back to the moment with my boys, the team. You guys seen some pictures? Yeah. And I was running the project in Afghanistan.
Is this private security?
We were private security, private military operators, and all these guys came from various special forces and so on, and they were all, I think, just by nature, by virtue of the work, they were all alpha males and type A's, and now here's the funny thing is,
I'd say just the whole deal is set up with guys like that, though. I mean, you'd have to be about half that.
It's just permeated all the way
and
if
if
through.
you're not that, then they'll make you that.
When you get down into the teams where we were at, you were operators.
Yeah,
and,
you're special.
So these guys, as project manager, there were no restrictions on us, especially back then in Afghanistan, because all the media was in Baghdad reporting on Blackwater and all the other people going. No one was watching us in Afghanistan. So you could run missions, you could run task orders throughout the day, and then at night, here's the part of Kabul where it's what, Chicago size maybe. It's just a massive city, and just like every other place, there's graft. We weren't restricted like military. We could have booze and stuff, and back then I drank. So if you weren't careful, there were there were entrepreneurs who would come in there, guys like yourselves, and say, well, maybe I'm not an operator, but by God, I know how to run a business. So they'd open up a Mexican restaurant or something, and the liquor would flow. So, and the funny thing was, those became magnets for expats. Because, you had a huge UN contingent there who were unarmed, and all the people that we were there to protect and so on, we were just the gunslingers. But some of these bars were rough, and the way I can describe it is, you've seen those bars remember the old Star Wars movies?
Oh, yeah.
And you go in because, here's the guys, you got your weapons with you and knives, and there'd be times, I'd have guys get their jaws broken, fights there, we had stabbings. And like you joked about earlier, that's not the place where you want to get hurt.
No.
Yeah. So I had to come up with something to keep these guys busy because they're alpha.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Go. Yeah. We didn't have a lot of bandwidth, so Call of Duty or whatever they were playing, you just suck everything down. And
this is what year?
This would have been 2005 or 6. And I went out. And I bought pads and gloves. And after dinner at night, after our food settled, we'd go out and we'd fight. That was our fun.
Yeah.
So, but what happened was, because you had all these guys from these different special forces,
you just out there fighting special forces after dinner.
Well, here's I'm going to name. I'll name this guy Jared. Jared was the one. He was the first person that ever mentioned. I said, where did this come from? He'd say, we had an Israeli brought in. This is what they taught. He was with 5th, before he came to us, he was with 5th Group Special Forces. And
did all of you at that time know a little bit, maybe, like maybe police force training type?
Exactly. So everybody was bringing something to the table at night.
You're not just out there, like they called it last night, your uncles at a barbecue. You're not out there just throwing haymakers, but you're saying after dinner you guys would go out and fight, but it was more of an exercise slash.
It was training.
It was
training. And everybody was ex-military probably, or
ex-military.
They're not going to kill you. They might hurt you.
Yeah, it was just a class thing. Like Pudge, tomorrow night you bring something to the table, and
bourbon.
We loved each other. Yeah, well, that would happen too.
Yeah.
But
so you guys were actually learning from each other, and these
everyone would come in and say, "Well, okay, here's something we were taught one time," and it would be anything from control and restrain. Because sometimes you got to put you don't kill people, you just want to put them down, take them, incapacitate.
So then that night you would work on that. Then.
So we would work on. I had mats. I bought mats for us and gloves.
You're in the desert, or I mean,
no. This is in Kabul, and
so what type of living arrangements is this? So you guys are over there.
It was called, just the common. We lived on what they call the economy. So we were outside the wire. We lived in the city.
Okay,
and we lived in what they called villas. I'll let that image sit in for a minute, and then I'm going to destroy it.
Yeah.
They were, by Afghan standards, they were nice, big place. I needed a big place, because I ran the project, I'd have to go out and deal with these, with the Afghans who loved to barter and negotiate and haggle. But there were certain things.
So you're selling security at this point?
No. This is just setting up the living accommodations for us. Where our contracts were usually with the U.S. government or someone within an arm's reach of the U.S. government.
Yeah. I got an uncle over in Saudi right now. My wife does, and he's doing. He's retired Air Force. I mean, he's a diesel mechanic, he's what I've seen from that is he's like brokered through a government agency. That company he's with is the way it seems. I'm probably talking out my ass, but
no, it's probably KBR. Probably who he's with, Kellogg Brown and Root or someone like that, DynCorp.
Yeah, so he'll go over there, and he started off. He's been kind of a little bit everywhere. He was in Afghanistan, Syria. He was in Syria for a minute. He said that was pretty wicked. He's been in places where like you have to drop down and pray every 4 hours or whatever.
7 times a day we would hear
something like that.
7 times a day we would hear that.
There's something that goes off. He's wherever that is, and they lived in top of a mall at one time, and so they, my wife's family, they're all big military people, and so from what I've pieced together through their military talking, it's basically the government needs a job done. They don't have enough manpower to do it, or they don't have that skill. Not that skill, but they don't have that.
They sub
entity,
it out.
So they sub that out. So then your military credentials then gets you hired by basically a private firm or private agency that can handle that.
Yeah.
Or business or whatever.
You've already proven yourself.
You're qualified.
That time. Now, the thing that was a little bit different with the part of the pie that we would share was what you've described there was a lot. It would fall under life support, and it's probably on a U.S. base or an embassy.
They're in something where they're allies, and they're teaching. He's teaching right now. He's of our allies,
trainer.
How to work on jets.
We weren't involved with the training. Only the training of our within our operational sphere.
It's not like you ever see the China's or Japan's. Army come over here and train us. It's just weird.
Have you guys ever seen the movie 13 Hours Benghazi?
I have not.
I have not either. No.
Okay, the first little bit of that movie answers. That was our life, because that was about security contractors at the embassy in Benghazi, and we had.
Also, that movie's you lived it.
Oh, that's what we did. Yeah. No, actually,
so you guys, your primary mission was to protect them, like people that were considered, important people,
with
friends of ours.
Yeah.
Yeah, roughly. Right. Or people you're working with. People you're working with.
Yeah.
So hang on now. I'm an idiot. Okay.
Well, bring it.
So I don't know this. You're just a guy. So are you saying? So let's say that old Trump or Biden or whoever's in there next, gets in there and they're buddies with what's the guy, Putin. Okay. So you're saying that you're not saying. I'm asking. Is that so? Like these agencies, so you're in private security, more or less. So basically, would the U.S. promise some sort of protection, or would they just think that's a good idea and send you guys? If they were trying to work up a major deal to where one of their own didn't take them out, or somebody else, one of your enemies didn't take them out, would they say, "Hey, we'll protect you with this"?
It wasn't always. Oftentimes, it wasn't that exciting. It was punctuated with things, but when you least expected it. When things were the quietest, when I was the most nervous. But let me see if I can draw a picture. The company I worked for was global. It was a British company. Mm-hmm. Okay, so on some projects, a lot of projects, I would be the token Yank because our biggest sugar daddy was the U.S. government, and they like to talk to people who don't carry an accent, unless it's from Southern Ohio.
Yeah, right.
So,
right.
So at that time, to give you an idea of the scope of things, I started out on security for the U.S. Embassy in Kabul. So it was a huge security force. And that's what we call static security, where, okay, Pudge, you're going on the roof tonight, you're off at midnight. Chad, you go up, you're off at 7, I go up, and it's static security, just like they have at the A plant or somewhere else. Then, because this is, it's a free market, it's commercial interests, we would begin to bid on other projects. So Global had a huge footprint in Afghanistan, a huge commercial footprint in Afghanistan, translating lots of projects. Mine was what we'd call a boutique project, and what our mission was to provide static security at the compound for these people we were hired to protect, mobile security to get them to and from their appointments, and then PSD work, personal security bodyguard work. So we would go with them. They were always under our protection, and the people were. This contract came from USAID. Wrote the checks on this one. United States Agency for International Development, which is just like FBI or Department of Commerce. This USAID is a little herd person because they don't do anything here. They do it all international development. So what they did was garner these group of legal and corrections experts from America and bring them in to work. Now this is where, like your uncle, the trainer, only that what they're doing, they would embed themselves with the Afghan legal system. Because at that time, what they were trying to do was get them off of Sharia law, which is, we'll just decapitate you or cut your hand off, or we'll stone you to death. And said that doesn't work here. If you want to keep getting our money, you got to start adopting democracy. We're going to send you some experts to do this. So we had Harvard law.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
So we had Harvard law grads and all this stuff coming over, and
you're protecting them.
They would get upset because, and this is where the Benghazi, it'll make sense to you guys. They would get upset and say, you guys don't do anything except work out and shoot and wrestle around with each other. And I'd say, yeah, that's true. That's true, because we're not paid for what we do. We're paid for what we know to do when crap hits the fan. Did you sleep good last night?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, So then I'm kind of, I had access to the numbers on the contract.
Oh, yeah.
And I knew what my boys made, what we all made. And we were compensated more than they were. I didn't, and they're lawyers. And I'd have to argue, debate with them on everything. Why can't we go there? We went there last night. Chad went there. Now I want to go tonight. You won't let me go. I said, well, because the threat level has changed. Security is on a what we call a sliding scale. It was okay yesterday, but now we've received intelligence that
not okay today.
Taliban, Al Qaeda are targeting the downtown area of Kabul, and that's the western area.
So you'd have to go in there and worry about them idiots.
Well, so tell me, Scott, what were the rules of engagement for, like, the private security? I mean, like,
did you ever have targets?
Well, like, what are you guys allowed to do? like, is there a different restriction as far as if obviously there is if you're U.S. military versus private security. But I mean, how
did you ever walk in a bar and like your headset say blue shirt?
That was already taken care of before we ever got to this place.
Blue shirt, okay, take him out. No.
But are you guys allowed to actively engage in combat? Or I mean,
be kind of shitty if like that type of thing broke out into something major, wouldn't it? Like,
what you have to. When you say ROE, rules of engagement, were different for the military than they were for us. Okay. Right. So whenever we would go on joint ops with the military, you'd fall under their ROE. Okay. But if we're out there on alone, the kind of the default for us was it turned into more operational. My first goal is to get you guys off the X. Get off the X.
Right.
Because what's the best self-defense?
Get out of there.
Don't be there. Okay?
Yeah.
So I don't want to hunker down. Now, of course, operational tactics are going to dictate. It's going to depend on, is it assassination? Is it one person coming after one person, or what's happening here? Everyone on a team, and they always went out in teams. You never went out alone. So everyone on the team knew what their role was. You had a very specific task, and you were trained in it, and you were very capable of it. So first thing is to get off that X, to get the principal, or even ourselves if we're returning empty. And they just see, because we operated great big Ford Excursion B6s armored up, just like tanks without guns is what they were, bulletproof glass, all that stuff. And they can't see in them, so boom. But most of those attacks would be from a roadside bomb, pre-detonation, or
so you're just driving down the road and there bombs and shit going off.
And
that's what you're probably concerned with. I mean,
man, I keep wanting to come back to some questions, and then I'm thinking, oh my God, I'll tell them the story here. I was stopped one time. Out here it was up around Circleville, and the trooper said, why are you driving in the left lane? And I said, before I even realized what I said, because all the bombs go off over there. And I never realized that I like riding that left lane, because I don't feel comfortable on the right side. That's where all the bombs go off at.
Yeah.
And you see a dead dog or something like that, they plant stuff inside there, any kind of heap, any kind of fresh dirt, you learn to look for it. I know from experience over there that usually by 9 a.m., 9:30, it was safe to get out and start moving around, because they can't let that stuff sit there all day. It'll be discovered.
Yeah.
So they want to detonate. And they also know that military coalition forces, early birds, Yeah. So if nothing's happened by 9:30, it's like I would tell the lawyers again, schedule your stuff at 10 a.m., 11. At least we're going to miss the general threat. If there's a specific threat, we'll deal with that when we get there. So, and that was day in and day out. So then at night, and this didn't happen too much in Afghanistan, but when I was in Iraq, you would get the rockets, the mortars, things like that. And there, our villa was inside the green zone. Now they call it the international zone. Hasn't changed, just names. But, and that, when I say inside, outside, living on the economy, that's important, because we all had credentials. I would go into the military intel briefings, we had clearances and so on. But then I'd go back out and, we'd go have a beer, or we'd barbecue on the roof or something, because we, even both in Kabul and we'd on the roof, especially Iraq, because it's hot. At night, things would cool down, so you go on the roof. And it wasn't uncommon.
You worked in conjunction with U.S. forces then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't uncommon. It wasn't an everyday thing, but sometimes if we had, there's a lot of examples there. And as I ascended up through the ranks, when I left, I was what they call country operations manager. And to give you a sense of that, I was the highest boots on the ground for our company, for Global, and we had a huge presence. And not just in Kabul. I mean, we're down south in Lashkargah and Helmand province, where the seat of Taliban. So, my phone never stopped. There was always something going on. Now, underneath me, it was like paramilitary. I had my assistants right there in Kabul with me, and then out on project. Okay, well, Pudge is running this project, and Chad's got this project down in Lashkargah. What's going on? Give me a sit rep every morning, every night. If something happens in between, call me. Let me know.
Yeah.
I never took operational control from those guys. Because they're the boots on the ground. They're where it's happening.
Right.
But the reason you're at that level is because you've had your own experiences.
So would you say that it's more corporate than military when you step over into the private security, or does it still kind of function under military rules?
And it's funny. Yeah, that's a good.
Because it sounds kind of corporate. Like, you're climbing the corporate ladder over there, man.
Yeah, it's a hybrid. And, it was one of those things where when you take on a management role, when you're operators, you're operators. Is your weapon clean? Are you in shape? Yeah. Do you feel fit? And that was a key component. You took care of the machine. And then the role with me was to take care of you, help you take care of yourself, and look at the commercial interests. So
you're the gap between the company and the boots on the ground, and you're playing both sides.
I think that's where I kind of honed my skills in. I never wanted a business. But the only reason I put LLC behind this is because the demand, all of a sudden, the government requests started coming in, and you had to be your EIN number.
So you're not just teaching people down the road here. You're going. I mean, that's what. And I didn't know that about you until. I mean, and I don't mean this as any disrespect. Please don't kill me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's demonstrate one of these holds on touch.
But like you see a lot of. I mean, I've been around here for 40 years. And I mean, you see a lot of these things pop up. Okay, as far as like these self-defense style classes. Okay, and it's easy for a guy that's not into that just to say, oh, there's another guy teaching self-defense. Okay, but what I didn't realize about you, and Stephen Richards was a guest a couple weeks ago, and he kind of brought this to light about you and what you're doing now. I've always thought a lot of you. So I mean, and I've been watching your classes at the Y, and Stephen got to kind of tell us a little bit more about what you did, and then through the I've seen you at the War X. We saw you out there, but we got to talk about that a little bit. But anyway, I didn't realize that it's not like this Southern Ohio Krav Maga. This is you're kind of still doing what you've just been talking about in a roundabout way. Like you'll go into companies now and show self-defense or not self-defense, but Krav Maga. You'll go through a series with companies or groups, like you talked about the domestic violence shelter and how you go down and you give instruction and I mean so you're not just some guy that's in a basement with a couple mats.
You're
nothing wrong with that.
No, thanks. But you're right. I mean, I don't think
you're a business. Like
I want to think. I want to believe. I'm effective, but I also have to believe I'm not as effective as I could be, because then if you stop growing, guess what? You're stagnant, you're dead, and you become nothing, and you're not impacting anyone. But it's funny, Krav Maga, it's not just some people, I think.
Horrible burn on that.
You do. You've got that so. I mean, my goodness, that's sloppy. It's bothering me. I
feel with that big long ash. You'll drop on the.
Can I have? No, look. I took care of you tonight. Let me have that lighter. I'm out of.
I think.
Sorry.
No, you guys are fine. Take care of your issue there, but Pudge, just like you're saying, I think what you're saying is, I want to believe that my life experience brings as much, if not more, to the table to make my Krav Maga teaching impactful versus someone who just went up through the ranks.
Yeah.
And now I'm a black belt and I'm going to teach this stuff.
Are there belts involved with Krav Maga? Or?
Yeah, in Krav Maga, it's called levels in Israel. Yeah. But when it was imported back in, I think, the late 80s here into America, because what's a level 1 equivalent to? Okay, it's a yellow belt. Oh, what would a level 3 be then? So I just said, just put levels in it.
Let's put it in there,
and that kind of translates through. So I picked up a 2nd degree black belt a couple years ago, and like I say, there's just it's not around.
No. Where did you get your training once you came back stateside?
Okay.
Or where did you continue that? We started. It started with Jared.
Can I go back to Jared?
Yeah.
Because Jared's a noteworthy guy.
Okay.
One night Jared just it was just very quick and like, wow. Yeah. And so you get up and you're like, what did you just do? And he's like, okay, well, here's what we learned. Krav Maga. What? How do you spell it? I go ahead and Google it, and I thought, they pull up all these Jason Bourne videos and all that. I know. And I tell people in the
seminar.
It
sounds like you're living, doesn't it? It sounds like he's living a Jason Bourne movie. I'm like,
Hey, I haven't even told you guys about the time I got pulled. I've been pulled off flights, off the no-fly list. I've been put in jail overseas. I've been held at gunpoint. There's so much. There's so much here.
Man.
But so Jared says it's Krav Maga. So where'd you pick this up at? Well, we train with the Israelis. Here's another interesting part. Now, this won't happen to me tomorrow when I'm at work. I'm just driving, picking up garbage around the city. I'm fine with that. But you meet people along your journey. Jared, when he was with 5th Group Special Forces, he was one of the people. I can't think of the name of the movie. Is it Horse Soldiers or something?
Oh yeah. I did see that one. It was essentially about the was it Green Berets or Rangers that were some of the first ones on the ground in.
Jared was one of those guys. They were inserted
in Afghanistan.
They were inserted in Afghanistan.
It's not 4 Horsemen, is it?
No, it's some like the Horse Soldiers or something.
It's something like that. But Jared was one of them. And there was just a handful, and they were inserted into Pakistan, and they linked up with Mujahideen, and then they came on horseback and donkey and something camel, and they came over into Afghanistan. And what they did, Bagram Air Base was one of their objectives. Bagram, it's all ringed in mountains. It sits in this basin, so you can just sit up there and look down at it, And what they did was, for 1 or 2 operators per so many hundreds of Mujahideen fighters, and they went around that ring. Jared would tell these stories that the Afghans called this thing the death ray. So he'd say, look at this.
Yeah.
And they'd look at it. He'd give the coordinates, because what you do, you laser that. And what the Afghans didn't know, it was beyond their. It was beyond their imagination
or technology.
They can't. Even like the little boys I told you about, they'll never know what it's like to walk into a Walmart or dip their toes in the ocean. They'll never know that because they can't get out of there. Yeah. But so the death ray, he'd say, okay, you see that white chair? We'll use the courthouse or somewhere and say, okay, now this would be far away.
Yeah. Maybe
the patrol post, farther out, and God, no, we're not blowing up the patrol post tonight. Or the courthouse.
Yeah.
And but they're on this basin. Well, he would radio up because they're just layers and layers and layers of ordnance flying around.
Yeah.
So he would laser that target. Well, they can't see this. They don't understand what's going on. They just think he shoots that with a laser and then. Yeah. He'd say, "Now get down, push him," because that sweeps up out of that shock will come up out of that valley, even that far away. So Jared was one of those guys that came in. So every now and then we would leave Kabul. And we wanted to go to Bagram Air Base because if you get on Bagram, they had coffee shops and pizza shops and all this cool stuff. So we would run through that 30-mile, like from here to Chillicothe, Apache country. In what we call a soft skin, just like your Jeep. Really? And we just bomb up and put our Afghan gear on and, look, from
So you're trying to look like an Afghan.
You just blend in, I mean, we all drove what they call Pajeros, and when we just wanted to blend in. Of course, it's hard. But, Jared had the beards and stuff, and he said during that operation, he said, we knew something was up because it was after 9/11. We knew something was up when they came in. They said, grow your facial hair, and they started handing out vouchers to go suntan, to go to the tanning bed.
Yeah.
So
I guess I didn't realize why those guys all had beards.
All the special forces, man, that became a thing there, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, they're because they're unconventional. So why should the conventional rules apply? And I think that was that. But anyway, Jared introduced us, and that's where I got I got hooked on this. And shortly after that, they pulled me out of Afghanistan. This is the old rule about being too good at your job. Good work rewarded with more work.
Yeah.
And they said we're going to reassign you. We're going to pull you into Washington D.C. I want you to work in a corporate office. Okay. So I go in, I trade in my boots and all my gear for Dockers and suit and tie, and a cubicle. But that's where I began to officially formally train Krav Maga was right down in Chinatown. You guys been to D.C., Chinatown?
Oh, yeah. No, since 6th grade. I want to go.
There's a thing that goes over the street in Chinatown, and when we would train upstairs Krav Maga, I'd look out that was coming right into the second floor we were at. So if anyone's been there, they're like, that's where Scott trained.
Yeah.
And that's how I got started. And so then from there, it's not back here.
Right.
When I was in Baghdad, I trained with guys from Danish Special Forces who had been sent to Israel, and so then Krav Maga. So we all had a chance to train together.
Yeah.
And they were on the same rotation I was. The company, they used me. I would be 3 months in country, and then 1 month home, and then 3 months in country and 1 month home, and 3 months in country. Sometimes they would transit me back and forth depending on what they wanted done or handled. And but by the time you did, people say, you're making $500 a day. 90 days in and 30 days home. That's even, trust me, by the time you hit that, when you got like 4 weeks left, you're ready to get out of there. And they wanted to keep you fresh. They wanted to keep they wanted to keep you fresh.
Yeah.
So
wow,
it was an adventure.
It sounds like it. I mean, and so the Krav Maga adventure was just kind of happening all alongside of this at the same time. I mean, you were learning.
It's kind of,
having advanced training with that while you were doing all of this.
No disrespect to the sport, but it's kind of like, you guys will learn to play guitar while they're there, and then you just kind of kept it and kept building on it and getting better. And
yeah,
because my uncle, for example, I think he learned how to play whenever he was over there the first time.
I don't think I would have had as much of an when I say an appreciation, or what I mean more is like to embrace Krav Maga had I not been living that life, and
had you ever
you wouldn't have needed it or thought about it as much. It wouldn't have been as important.
It would have just been another.
Have you ever trained in any other form of martial art or a lot of other ones? Or
I rolled some BJJ here local, and then I went to Columbus a couple times with friends up there to roll BJJ, and that's all ground fighting is what it is. Krav Maga has a BJJ component. The ground is my weak spot. By nature I'm a striker, so I like handling stand up. I don't like being on the ground. Bad things happen down there, and BJJ for that is great.
Right.
It's great. One of the things, every God, I don't even want to call it an art. I mean, every style has strengths and weaknesses. And I think if you're in a ground fight on 1-to-1, in my opinion, BJJ is up there. Okay. I mean, it's maybe the top, that's it. Yeah. However, then what happens is, and this is what I say in the seminars, I joke, is that every dirtbag has a dirtbag buddy.
Yeah.
So when you get two people, that kind of takes away from the effectiveness of it, because you can't, one guy's holding you down, the other guy's kicking your head in, So Krav Maga, we deal with multiple attackers, and it evolves into weapons work. When I say weapons work, I mean
that, without dogging anything. You're not dogging it. You're just.
You just point out, I think Krav Maga has its weaknesses too. Maybe it's too aggressive sometimes under a litigious society.
It just seems to me as though Krav Maga is much more functional. Like, back to my earlier point, which this is the way I see it, and it may be incorrect, but like, okay, if you're fighting BJJ and you're fighting against another guy fighting BJJ, if you're sparring or doing that, well, it's great. It's really effective. Yeah,
it's beautiful to watch because it's chess players with your body.
Absolutely.
That's Hoist Gracie and all that.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Oh yeah,
Hoist was basically pioneered that, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
But like Krav Maga seems to be more like, it's like, hey man, when it's on, when it's go, this is, it's no holds barred. Here we go. I mean,
there's Krav Maga. There's no competitions.
That's what I mean. Yeah, they're not having
no Krav Maga tournament.
Yeah, no.
Which kind of leads me into the next chapter of this was. So I attained my second degree black belt, which is noteworthy here in America at the time. There wasn't less than maybe 1,000. I don't know, and you just sometimes you feel like, okay, what now? You know, the dog that chases a car and catches one. It's like, well, what now?
Right.
And I'm on Facebook or YouTube or something one day, and I seen this very aggressive, as if it's not aggressive enough.
Right.
And it gets amped up, and so I flew out to Arizona, and I did a 3-day course out there in Krav Maga, and I met Sharir Richmond, who is from Israeli with the IDF, and he's done plenty of work, special work with them. He still trains the military there, and it's ICCS.
No, yeah, right. Hey, I just got tested, dude. I'm good.
But it's ICC, Israeli Contact Combat System, Krav Maga. You know, but now we're kind of getting into semantics because there's, you know, Chad Krav Maga and Pudge and Scott Krav Maga. Everyone's kind of taking this thing and McDojo'd it, but
that's what I'm saying. The whole thing, it always happens, and then it all just blends in, and it just kind of
becomes something else. You
like,
know?
do you imagine that there probably will be competitions at some point?
No, because from a competitive standpoint, if people are trying to learn Krav Maga now the Israeli Defense Forces have competitions in the units, but they're beat downs.
Yeah, that's just like, hey,
who
let's
gets
kick
knocked
each
out
other's
first.
ass.
Okay, he wins.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah,
because I'm on fake. You know, I know a lot of these guys now.
Yeah,
but so you know, if they want to compete in Krav Maga, they'll pursue that outlet through another martial.
Well, like, do you see?
Do
you see?
Now we have a lot of guys in it that do compete. They fight MMA.
That's what I was wondering. That's what I was wondering. Like, are there a lot of Krav Maga guys or specialists in UFC and MMA or?
I don't that are trained in Krav Maga.
Yeah.
Probably the only one. The first one that comes to mind is Boss Rutan. If you guys know who Boss is, Boss and Amir Peretz. Amir's Israeli Krav Maga.
Yeah.
Krav Maga has no function inside the octagon.
Okay.
Because, you put somebody in a rear naked choke or karate choke. You know, that's once again now you're looking at BJJ judo. Body throws. The roundhouse kick to the head. Well, there we go. That's Taekwondo.
Yeah.
Can you eye gouge somebody in the octagon? Can I kick you in the jewels?
No.
Can I throat struck? Maybe I can get away with throat punching you. But can I just dig my thumbs into your eyes?
Yeah, no.
So
that's, I mean, we're back to that. We're back to that functional part of it, man. I mean, you're talking about fighting for your life when you're using.
When I do women's self-defense, that's the first thing I say is, look, you have to get past the point of, you're afraid to hurt somebody or something because
this isn't friendly competition. I mean, it's
not competition. This is a fight, and I think that's why it translates so well to military applications. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, when I teach, we'll say, I've taught law enforcement before. When I teach, I've taught Holzer's security teams, worked with them for a couple of years. When I teach church security, I don't go in there and teach eye gouging.
Right.
They call it Krav Maga, but what it is, it's huge situational awareness.
Yeah.
Know what's going on. Monitor your, set up.
It's game-changing moves.
Monitor your access points, and things like that. Yeah. So
it's putting together a
strategically
puzzle.
place yourself where you can respond in a, blah blah blah. Yeah. So, but it's different, So Krav Maga kind of maybe gets lumped in, but like I say, it's so holistic, meaning it's so all-encompassing,
Right.
Whereas I don't think some of the other martial arts are going to go in because Krav Maga is for military application. It was born and spawned in Israel. These other martial arts have been around for centuries, and they've been perfected, and they're great.
Right.
Krav Maga has been around since 1948 when Israel became a state, and every neighbor to this day, contiguous to its borders, is hostile. They had to be able to stand up a military, equip them for hand-to-hand close quarters battle, hand-to-hand combat, because that's the way a lot of it happens when you're mingling across the streets and in with each other.
It's miserable over there, isn't it, man?
Well, no, I can't wait to get there. It's.
I mean, if you're talking about them hiding bombs in dogs.
Well, now we're talking Afghanistan and combat.
But what I'm saying, I mean, like overseas, like I mean, a guy like me is never really truly going to understand how they're living.
I can't speak to Israel. I mean, I think they're just as developed. They've got the McDonald's and the KFCs and the shisha bars and all kinds of hummus. You guys like hummus?
Oh, I do like hummus.
I love hummus.
Yeah. Man,
I love it.
Do you not totally not getting political? Then don't kill
me.
Go
ahead. No, go.
Okay. We've went through a year here. Not here, but in the United States, and Do you ever see us getting to that point of living like how you were over there in? Like, maybe I'm being dramatic.
Oh, I don't know, Pudge. I mean, now you're tapping into my psyche, which is just, a little skippy step away from my paranoia.
You've seen how they're living over there, and you see maybe you saw what led up to certain things, and I mean, are you seeing that here?
Yeah.
Because it's rough.
I can't. I don't want to explain it. I know what I'm wanting to say. I think you may be asking this from. Are you reading the tea leaves? Do you see the writing on the wall about government taking our guns or doing this? I don't know.
Not necessarily. I'm talking more about
what I do see.
Like these protests, and then you get certain groups that want to go crazy and destroy, or possibly, the last time, I don't know if killing was a big word. I mean, a lot of people did die, during those riots, I guess. But I mean, do you see? I mean, I felt like this last year that, like, I always felt like we were just on the verge of like a total flip. Like, I always thought, it was starting to be, you had this, democracy of, that kind of reigned over the people, and now it's almost like the people are fighting the democracy like pretty full go. And
if that's the context you're asking, because that was the answer I was prepared to give. Is I don't try. Lord knows, can any of us predict what the government might do, whether it's at what level, even local. But one of the things that I do see from talking to friends and visiting with people, and we're all on social media. We're all social media people, but I see characteristics of people being fed up, hungry for change, concerned about what could be around the corner, taking matters into their own hands. And I don't mean vigilantism. I mean, pick a topic. I'm not wearing my mask. You're not taking my guns. I'm going into McDonald's for my Big Mac. I don't know what trips them, but
I like the cops.
When you talk, I did a presentation.
Everybody's so pissed off.
People are angry.
Very, very divisive.
Very,
seems like.
Before, this has probably been 2 years ago or so, I did a presentation to Homeland Security, and that was right up here. And you've got all these prosecutors and law enforcement agency heads from really the region. And one of the things I put up, I did a PowerPoint. One of the things I put up was future indicators, things to watch for. And here's where I think it could go next based on my experience overseas, because when they would do something, we'd respond. And our response was usually pretty good and effective. Well, then they would change, then we would change, and it's just a cat and mouse game all the time. Yeah, all the time. And a couple things I pointed out was you're going to begin to see in some of these more public protests, I think things are going to amp up and get violent. And I think some of the other things, one of the other things I said was you're going to begin to see more targeted elevation. People are going to begin to put more thought into this. This was like from an active.
Yeah, they had time to study. They had time to watch them.
Well, I mean, I teach before this COVID hit, but I taught a lot of active shooter, active threat.
I was going to ask you that if you were if you do those corporate seminars or whatever.
I've done them. Corporate, I've done them. Yeah, I'll do them for anybody that wants them. Because people need to be made aware.
Well, that's. I mean,
I've done them in the schools.
It's a shame that we have to think about active shooter situations. But we can sit around and say it's a shame to do it, or we can get ourselves prepared.
You run into when I'm doing with government entities. Sometimes you run into we can't do that. I said, if you don't, the body count's going to be high. So can you? Which one are you prepared to deal with the least? But
man, you talked about social media. Not to change the subject, I shouldn't even talk about this. But I got worked up last year. I think it was last school year. I think it was 2 school years ago. I mean, I got plumb worked up, and I mean to the point that I was trying to raise funds. I met with the people I needed to meet with. I was hell bent on getting this done, and it was whenever they had all those school shootings. And I mean, you're talking to a guy that had a 5-year-old or 4-year-old at the time in preschool and a wife that's a teacher. And I mean, like, I always said, I said, I forget what the I went in the courthouse, and I don't mean this at a local level, but I'm just saying, like, it blew my mind. Like, I went in the courthouse one day, I think it was paid property taxes or something, and go in there, and the guy at the front had a gun, and then you got several bailiffs in there, walking around, and they have weapons, and that's great. I'm perfectly okay with that. Great. But but then you've got all this, but you can't stick, and that's a state deal. That's a state funded deal. And then you had these schools, and at that time, school shootings was a big topic. And I thought, it really bothered me that we didn't have any form of resource officer. And this is not a local school district problem. This, in my opinion, I thought this was a state issue. Because they wanted to jump in the school game, and they would protect all these other people, that were in the state system, but they wouldn't protect our kids and our teachers, and I was pretty hot about it, and that's it. I think that's going back to social media. I got worked up about it, and I was putting stuff. I've since stayed away from doing that, because
it's tough to win those battles.
You lose friends. There's people your whole life, and I mean, you'll be at the point you're ready to come through that screen.
Oh, I know.
I mean, it just and everybody, like what you're talking about, how you feel things maybe elevating a little bit, and things like. There was somebody rebutted me one time, and they're like, "Oh, you want to raise, you think the answer is raising your kids around a bunch of weapons?" And I was like, "No, I get your point. However, I'm a realist. It's this stuff's out there. Like, I mean, it's." I guess I took that in a direction maybe I shouldn't have.
Well, no, and actually, you kind of tripped over something that is good to, I get the same thing. And I've learned, I tell you, when I was in Athens running the drug task force with the A News and very liberal.
Never got me, did you?
No. He was good. Go back through my records and see. But, we were busting professors, and we were searching frat houses. We made USA Today one time and all this. And
I went into a frat house over there one time, and whenever I walked in the door, true story, they handed me an 8-ball of cocaine and a case of Natty Light.
Oh,
just walking in the door.
Well, welcome to our party.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was, I won't mention the frat house in Athens, but it was in Athens. That's real. Like,
it's a liberal. Yeah, OU wasn't happy with us at all because they were, we were. Based on our numbers, our
exposing
facts,
some things. Yeah,
you were supporting their ranking in what they used to have as a top 10 party school, and
I bet they hated you. I didn't think drugs.
They burned an effigy of me on campus one time.
Really?
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
I didn't think OU was as bad as with like hard drugs. I mean, obviously cocaine was a hard drug. It was there if you wanted it, you took it, but. I can't say nothing like now. You're talking 20 years ago too, but I mean, that heroin and meth and all that stuff. You didn't see all that stuff.
No, it's like a lot of recreational.
It was recreational,
and not just recreational use. Not that I'm categorizing drugs, but it was the marijuana, the experimental drugs, LSD.
You might get some shrooms,
Rohypnol, shrooms. Yeah, we
ecstasy. You had some of those over there. Nothing crazy though.
Once you got outside. I don't want what they call them, townies. You get up into Gloucester and other places, Wellston.
It's the same as Southern Ohio. You get it anywhere. Appalachia.
Then you start seeing it's almost like a difference, like a working man's. Then you start getting methamphetamine addiction. Heroin wasn't
manufactured
around. Both.
Yeah. Well, that's what it's easily manufactured.
Yeah. We seen that wave sweep. When I was working with DEA,
everybody's got
it was out west,
tied to it.
And it just, and now it's here.
Yeah.
But
I lost a brother-in-law to it. I've lost several friends to it. It's ridiculous.
But another point about responding to social media, and the same rule applies. I had a guy tell me over there. He said, "Don't ever fight your battle with a man who buys his ink by the barrel." And I thought, that's pretty good advice.
Yeah.
And it still can apply with social media. Every now and then when I post something on my little class advertisement that runs around, you'll see someone come in and say, they shouldn't be doing this, or that shouldn't be allowed there. Or,
you have to get a little bit of that, don't you? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I just, I've learned best self-defense, don't be there. I know what I'm about. I know what we're doing is legit and real, and it's if nothing else, it's done with earnestness. I mean,
sure.
someone else will always jump in and say, come on, he's teaching people how to protect themselves.
I love the beep that comes out that says, social media has you all way too comfortable with mouthing off and not getting punched in the face. I love that one. I didn't put that as a cover.
There is some truth in it, too.
How are you getting your media? You know, we always ask everybody that. So, like, how's a guy like you? I mean, you've been worldly here. So, I mean, how deep into like Facebook are you?
Like what social media platforms, and like, do you consume podcasts, or like?
It's been a learning curve for me. Mm-hmm. I mean, I had to have Kat, my wife. You know, she's crafty at this stuff. And when we first set this page up, I think back in 2016 was when we started. But I didn't become LLC until 17 when all the government requests started rolling in, government agencies. But it's been self-taught. It's been a learning curve for me. I get aggravated at Facebook on sponsored ads and boosting. You know, if there's so much print or if it shows this, and they're kind of anti-Semite anyway. I think so. You got the logo, and so I fought with them. Instagram, I'm into that. I'm still learning.
I like Instagram.
I'm getting as far as for my personal enjoyment. You know, I've linked up with all my people on there. You know, and I enjoy seeing what's going on.
Really,
the other ones I'm not into. You know, the podcasts and stuff I've done,
like Apple,
a couple,
Spotify, YouTube.
We had Spotify. We had this. Can you even advertise on Spotify? Kat said,
I think so.
I pay for it, and she splits it with her sister or someone. And she said, you should get Spotify. I said, I can hear any song I want anytime. Because we were on our way down to West Virginia yesterday. When she lost service, she said, I can't play. I just wanted her to play a Led Zeppelin song. And she said, I can't get it. She said, you should get this. I said, I can hear any song I want anytime. Never mind, I'm going to listen to my song. She said, how? I said, right here. It's playing now. It's playing now. So, but yeah, so as far as those, I haven't.
They're handy.
What I've learned is in my opinion, what doesn't work. Print media, I think, is out for me.
It's got its place.
I make my own flyers and stuff, and I'll saturate an area, or if I have a host business, they get them.
Flyers, I think, are hot. We did that Stockroom Idol a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and was going to have it this year, but one of the girls that went into the finals, she like really a lot of 2 or 3 of the girls that hit the finals, they hit flyers heavy, and I think it paid off. Like, I really watched that work.
Got them some votes, huh?
I really do, yeah. And I've had people tell me like, "Hey, you need to bring a flyer into my work," and so I think that style is still relevant.
Well, for example, Sharir, hopefully, is coming over in April again, because we've had 2 tactical courses.
But to get him on the show.
This is what we call our pro course, and this is where we come in and we teach Israeli tactics. So we'll do a day of Krav Maga, we'll do the weapons work, and then we get tactical. You know, we do room clearing and so
cool.
Krav Maga. Holistic. So we've got that scheduled down in London, Kentucky, down near the Tennessee border, and the host down there is Center Target Firearms and Indoor Training Range, a wonderful facility. And then we'll do one up here in Ohio at Judy Phelps, at On Guard Defense, right by the castle. Have you guys ever been up there? It's a wonderful place.
I don't think so.
There'd be your guest. But she's a fireball. I love her. You know, but they've got it's better than most military ranges I've been on.
Yeah.
So anyway, what I do is I'll work up a flyer with those hosts, and it's just a simple boom. Just a Word doc. Here you go. I put them both on each side. Cut it. Now you got 2 for 1. Put them on your point of sale, and I think those generate some interest. But I think to make the sale, you've got to have that person says, "Hey, Pudge, how you doing? Yeah, here's your box of 5.56. Hey, and by the way, you've been shooting much lately? We got some guys coming in. You know, they're really coming from Israel, and we're going to do.
Yeah.
You've got to have that contact. So
I was talking to a guy that I think in pretty high regard the other day about it. You know, he's got a business that he's trying to get out on social media, and you know, my thought process for a long time was, well, this is all, you know, you're just seeing fluff and blah blah blah, and I think that was maybe a little bit of the pessimist in me that was coming out. I don't know, but I told him something hit me about a week or two ago. I don't know what it was, but I was like, if you look at the good parts of this social media thing, there's some bad. Don't get me wrong. There's some bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I take those deep dives into the comment section sometimes, and I mean, man,
you're better off stay out of those.
And I looked. I was standing in my barn today, and I was feeding the horses, and I was reading comments, and I thought, look at this. Here I am, 40 years old, out here feeding the horses, and I'm just out here scrolling in these comments, reading a bunch of shit that I don't care about.
Guys, think of it, man. I mean, we do dog social media a lot, but man, you think about it from a business perspective. If somebody would have told us 20 years ago that you could touch, 1,000, 1 million people with one post, I mean, I mean, it changed the game.
It did,
as far as advertising and things like that.
And that's what I was telling him. I said, if I'm looking at the positives of that, number one, boom, you're out there.
There it is. Yeah.
Okay. And number two, everybody's on it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Number three, so many times, just like you. Okay. I mean, I've learned a ton about Krav Maga tonight.
Yep.
Okay. And in a great way. And but I mean, so many times things just kind of get lost in the shuffle. You know? And what I think social media is allowing people to do, like there again, looking at the positives. Yes, you can paint a picture. Okay, and that might be how you see it, and if that's how you see it, great. And if I see it that way, even better. But if you don't see it that way, then guess what? You don't have to look at it. And it allows you to paint this picture, and you can kind of. I mean, there's people that are living through social media, and I got thinking about that, and I thought, okay, they're living through social media, and they're portraying this picture because I mean, we're posting on Chubby Bartenders a lot
all the time,
and you kind of get to like today, for example, you saw the Stanley thermos. So here I am. Me and my dad's out this morning, and we're driving around, and I took him down to the tunnel.
Oh,
he never drove through.
Oh,
the
is
tunnel.
that right?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So and then we're getting on a hunting lease right beside it. So here I am. I'm out there with my dad. Just a great Sunday morning with your dad, driving around, and here my fat ass is over there taking a picture of a Stanley just so I can post it on social media.
Hey,
and man. I thought, I bet my dad's looking at me like, you dumb son of a bitch. You put that camera away.
Hey, it's a grind. It's a grind.
What are you doing? Working. Working.
Yeah, it's a grind. Yeah, don't ask. I mean, it's a grind.
But it's it is a lot of work to do that. But at the same time, you know what? Everything's work, and it is kind of fun. I mean, it is fun. It's fun to do. I love how we're doing it. Like it's no pressure.
No. But though, like, I mean, it's bound to help your classes. Like when you post the stuff online of what you guys are doing there and stuff, and then we see you guys out in public. Like you brought your whole class to War X.
And you thought, whenever they crossed the finish line, I thought, well, that kicks ass, man. Like, they're in a group of people that they just came out here and ran this race together. I've ran those races, and I'm going to tell you something. Whenever you cross the finish line, I don't give a shit. Make fun of me all you want to. There's a sense of accomplishment.
Oh, yeah. And that's what I want. I've told them all the way prepping up to this thing. I said, look, everyone can do it. Everyone's going to do it. We got to do it as a team, and I want them to realize the value of teamwork.
Yeah. And did you guys kind of have a pact, like we're running this together, so we'll finish at the same point as our slowest guy?
Yeah,
or whatever.
Well, yeah. You're reading my mails. But that was some of the stuff. And then what happened was, as it got up to the time, I had other people contact me and say, "Hey, if we start with you, do we have to finish with you?" And I said, "No, just." Finish.
Just finish.
Because they wanted Jake. Jake and I were friends, and he said,
"That doesn't surprise me." Because this Jake,
I love him.
Oh my God! I mean, it's like this.
Oh, gee, I'm surprised that Scott can fit into that band of savages.
Yeah. Oh my God, man! Have you listened to Richard just yet?
Oh, no, Stevens. I love Steven too, man.
Wait till you listen to Steven.
He's my brother.
We went pretty deep into the War X.
We talked about War X for a long time, and I talked about there was a kidnapping. Did you know this?
Yeah, well, that's when they do the...
Well, what they do, call you for instruction?
No.
Anybody that goes to sleep before midnight is fair game when they're all out there together, I guess.
So Dan, do you know Dan, Jake's dad?
Yeah. Yeah, I've met Dan, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So he was just going to be in the vicinity. And it scared me to death because I'm telling you, I could just see this guy rounding us all up and sticking us in a tree and just, just chaining us there or something, you know, tickling us with ants till we pissed ourselves.
We Pudge and I walk on eggshells around those guys.
Yeah,
love them all to death.
But I love them, and I'm so
well.
glad
Like I
there.
always say, I'm so glad there are guys like that in the world. And Scott, I'll throw you into that group. The guys that run at it instead of away from it with me.
They're a great bunch. And you know something funny with War-X? Who would have thought? It takes, you know, and that speaks to someone's ingenuity and thinking,
all their genius. They have the best, honestly.
Yeah, I'm going to do it.
I've worked with a lot of people, okay? And not that I've worked with these guys a lot, but I've worked in conjunction with them a couple times now. And I've got a chance to get to know them. And I've got to, you know, especially Jake, man. Jake's just, he's a good dude. Good, solid dude, man. Yeah. God, he's great. And I've got to meet some of the guys that he associates himself with, and that are also involved in the behind the scenes stuff. And what a great crew! I mean, like, I don't know that I've ever worked with a crew like that. Like they're all in. I mean, it's just. I mean, you honestly look forward to it, to like helping and working with
being
them,
a part,
being a part of it. Like it's unbelievable. I mean, you don't get that a lot in Southern Ohio.
No,
you know, I mean, I'm in business, and business is tough, and I mean, you know, a good team is very important for success.
Have you run a lot of those obstacle course races? Or?
Yeah, quite a few.
How did you rate the War-X experiences?
Well, it's the best. Because it has a combat simulation component to it, you know, and there's something. God, I don't know. It just gives you that.
Can I get that charge?
Well, I don't want to seem like a warmonger either, but it adds something different to it that you don't get on the other ones. The other ones, you just bring your competitive spirit, like, guys, we're going to do this. Let's go. Let's get over that wall and up that cliff and down this and through that pond and all that.
And it had to be fun for you to watch, like, the people in your class go out and finish that.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
it was to have them with me, because they helped me just as much as you know. We all helped each other, and that was I loved the fact that. I could speak to that, not like, I've done a lot of these. You're going to have it, you know, I'll help you through this. No, that's too condescending. It's like, guys, we can do this together, because I've been in situations before where it takes the team to get it, and you are the right people. So we're going to do this. We're going to do it together. Yeah. And when we all did it together, it was no surprise to me, but man, it felt great.
I bet it did. When you guys all came across together like that, that was really cool.
It was cool to watch.
We were sitting there.
We were off to the side. We were drinking.
Sorry about that. But but we were like, wow, man. I mean, that is so cool, man.
You talked about that. That reminds me. Every group has that guy. So we get down to the Spartan, and it's me and Eddie Hughes and a couple other guys, you know, and there's a few other people running around with us that we didn't know, but they kind of grouped up with us. So they take 250 at a time, and they put you in this corral. And you got to jump like a 5-foot wall to get in this corral. So we get this guy in this crowd, you know, he's getting loose, you know, and he's like, yeah, man, you know, here's what you're going to do, you know, and, I've done this before, and I've done this before. Yeah, man, and I mean, you could tell about the fourth obstacle. That son of a bitch wasn't no better than me. You know, it was like, you know, I've heard enough of your shit today, but, you know, we're all in this together.
Things, those things will definitely flatten the curve.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, it's no.
You ain't going to bluff your way over
no
wall.
No way, man.
You know, in younger years, you know, I guess we all have some of that in us, but man, I've been humbled so many times. I've learned just be the gray man. Just be the gray man sitting back there thinking, okay, it's going to be easy.
I haven't ran War-X because I haven't been in good enough shape, and I think now I saw people there this year that I think anybody can do it. Honestly, I'm glad I saw that, because to watch those guys and to know them, it was intimidating. Because, like, I thought, man, these guys, they're just legit. I mean, Steven Richards, for example.
Steven's awesome.
Dude, I mean, that guy, he may be the most underestimated guy in Jackson County. Like, I mean, I've seen that guy do stuff that's just unreal.
He says you got a nice thing going on Friday mornings over there.
We do. Here lately, I've been plagued with some injuries, you know, but before that, and this is something I did every Friday morning. Well, I did a lot of times a week. But
just got up, whipped ass at 5 a.m.
You know,
I did it every Friday morning.
Sometimes Pudge the bag whipped me on. Sometimes, trust me. But And it just started. It started growing, you know. And I said, "You should come and join me," you know. So Steven shows up, and Ed Skurlock, and Wayne. There's a couple core people, and then
Wayne
the group,
Newsom.
Yeah,
I love Wayne.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah,
so the group just started growing,
Yeah.
and now sometimes there'll be, you know, but like I say, I have many. You talk about a couple things I want to talk about real quick. Was, you know, the perseverance, being able to get through this thing. I just went through I tore ligaments in my leg, so I'm coming back on. I've got Warx coming. I want to put a team together because this is as much as a mental challenge as it is anything. And I knew I wasn't in peak condition, but I wasn't in bad condition. But I had work to do, and I just got a shot of cortisone in my knee, which now I've injured it since then. And
liquid awesome.
I'm telling you, I went back in time like 15 years. I thought, I'm going to put this baby to the test. Yeah. So I started doing these long runs.
I saw you jog to Hamden with a weighted vest.
No, I didn't have a vest on. But so yeah, that was one I thought, okay.
After you whipped some,
I ran out to Stephen's place, out to Richards Brothers.
You jogged out there. All the way
I only
from
made
your
it on
house?
35 because my wife was getting off work. I said, okay, I've held you up long enough. Just I'm at Vega Church. I'll be down there. She picks me up. But yeah, I could have made it. So the next one I thought.
You jogged to Vega Road.
Yeah. Out past here. So the next time I thought I'm going to push it a little farther.
Down 35.
So this time I just, I went on the side roads up. But yeah, the next time I ran to Hamden. And that was just in preparation.
How old are you?
I'll be 58 in February.
Jeez,
so
man, you make me feel worthless.
No. Well,
worthless.
Hey, I haven't worked out in a month and a half now. I haven't touched the weight. I haven't
years.
done anything.
But are you telling me though you kind of limped into War X? Like you were like,
I
knew 7 miles, Scott.
Yeah, but
you limped it.
I knew that I wasn't in peak condition.
Okay, yeah.
For how I'd like to be, but I also knew.
Yeah.
Because of the people you surround yourself with, your team, that you're going to do it.
Yeah, you knew you could do it.
And you're going to have fun doing it.
Right.
Because if you do something that's not fun, guess what?
Yeah.
It's a lot harder.
Yeah.
You know, if you're having
but
fun.
like, if you go at it with the right attitude, then it's
fun.
I mean, yeah.
Embrace the suck. You know?
Yeah. I love to have guys like you on because, you know, I mean, I think it's easy for guys, me and Chad, you know, we're at 40 years old, and it's real easy to hang your hat and think that you are physically out of the game.
No, we're not. No, yeah.
And I mean, you just saw it last night with Tyson and Jones. I mean, I hated that you guys didn't get a chance to watch that.
No, I saw some highlights.
Totally different style of show. What do you think about those two going back and fighting like that? Now, I'm telling you, it was different. Whenever I say different, I mean, Mike Tyson seemed like a changed man. Like he seemed like a I don't know. Have you watched much of him?
Oh yeah. I didn't see last night, but Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know how he was a savage,
beast,
savage, and scary. You could tell just by his tone of voice. You could tell by his eyes. You could tell by everything.
You watch those videos at 17 years old.
Oh my!
I mean, and he's just
trained.
He's unstoppable.
Unstoppable. Yeah.
Now, what was his demeanor different last night?
Last night he was. I mean, and they were busted there again. I think this was the comments I was reading while I was letting my horses eat, and people were dogging on him for everything that he did years ago. And I'm not saying the man's a saint at all. Obviously, he's
or any of us,
yeah.
And he's human, and I'll tell you this: he seems like a man that deserves maybe a second chance. Maybe he doesn't deserve a second chance, but I don't know. But man, he's working for it, and he at the end they asked him. It was a very different style fight, because there was no fans, So you're in a production studio, Okay, they had LED bright lights head high just above the stage.
There'd be a handful of people, just be like Jim being in the gym.
You could tell there was I mean there was several concerts. So they had all these rappers come out, and even Snoop Dogg is the one that played right before him.
Yeah.
And Snoop Dogg commentated. I mean, this deal that they
I heard someone say Snoop Dogg should be.
You know who their main sponsor was?
Is that
Weed Maps?
Oh, okay. Well, they said Tyson blazed up right before the fight.
I don't think,
or he said that, or something.
I don't think he did because
I don't see how you could.
Well, he owns his own marijuana distributing thing.
Right.
Wow.
So that's probably why he said that.
No, because he was on Rogan, and he said that he had gave up everything.
Yeah.
And so he's went through this whole mind altering experience at his age.
Well, did he seem less edgy.
You could tell he
more
was
calculated or something.
He was definitely there to do a job. Roy Jones Jr. did a great job on not letting him accomplish what I think Tyson set out to do.
Okay.
Now Tyson also said, like at the end of the fight, they. So anyway, let's go back. So it's sponsored by Weed Maps. Do you know what Weed Maps is?
No, but I can kind of guess.
Weed Maps is a app on your phone, and if you can look every dispensary in the world and every product of this legal marijuana, either
ingenious,
yeah, and it's on there, so you can type it up, and like in Jackson Buckeye Botanicals comes up,
Here's your closest one.
And here's your closest one. It's like a pharmacy app. It's no different than your CVS app.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so they sponsor this thing. So the whole time, Snoop Dogg's over there just smoking joints.
You're kidding.
Commentating on this fight.
Oh my God.
And even I forget the one announcer was. He's like a head ring guy. You as soon as you hear his voice, it's almost like he's the guy in the video games. Like he's got that voice. I forget his name. Mm-hmm. But he was like, "Oh my God, we're getting we got a contact buzz going over here from Snoop Dogg. How you doing over there, Snoop? Tell us what you see. I see a big fat joint, man.
Oh my God.
But at the same time, I was watching this. I was thinking these boys have changed the game.
Yeah.
Okay. So they come out, and Roy Jones Jr. He did a great job. Like what he would do. You could tell Tyson was very happy that they went the distance. Okay. So they went all. I think it was
8 rounds,
8 2-minute rounds. Yeah. So rounds were just flying by. Like
2 minutes are fast to watch, but when you're in there, it's
yeah, I'm sure.
It's a long time.
So at the end of the fight. They brought them both up on like the ramp, not even in the ring. Okay, so they took them on the ramp, and they announced that it was a draw. And they asked Mike, was he happy with the draw? And he goes, "Yeah, man, I'm real happy." He's like, I'm just happy I went the distance, man. At my age, and life's about going the distance, and fighting's about going the distance, he was just, and so then they asked Roy Jones Jr. He's like, "Hell no, I'm not." He's like, "I never went into no draw, man." He's like, "I'm out here to win," and then you could almost like you can tell Tyson's like keeping things at bay, because like whenever Roy Jones said that, Tyson was like,
I don't want to wake that up.
But then he like real quickly he's like, "Oh man, Roy, we got to get you on the next card, man. We're gonna do this again. We're going to do this again." And then they asked him, the announcer was like, "Mike, do you feel like you'd want to do this in like a title series or a championship fight?" And he was like, "No, we're humanitarians now." And he was like, "Wow, exhibition's fine." But I mean, he still had the power. I will say that the fight looked slower than the training videos. Like, you can do a lot with a video. And I'm not saying that they faked any of that at all, but I'm saying, like, they can piece things and put some music behind it.
Did his style change in any way, or did it look
like he would still come out and he would do his little kicking out? You know how he'd kick out a little bit in the beginning and like kind of borderline run in place at you. He did some of that. Roy Jones Jr. He had the and he was a given one of them. I mean they both fought good.
Guys are legends, man.
Yeah, and like so then Roy Roy tied him up every time. Like he could tell that he was not trying to get in the way of that.
Can you blame that? So that's probably the best strategy you could possibly
worked.
do.
It worked.
You can't afford a mistake with Tyson. I mean, anyone.
That's it.
Yeah.
And so it was the 220 to 210 weight class. Okay. Roy's got him by 3 years. Roy had just fought 3 years ago. Tyson hadn't fought in 15 years.
Wow.
I think that would be a huge disadvantage.
Oh, my.
15 years is a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
3 years is not. I mean, like whenever they were like Roy Jones Jr. is retired and he's coming back, his last fight was 3 years ago. I'm like, well, shit, man, I don't know. You can throw him up against Tyson. Like, he's kind of fresh off the boat, I mean? So, I don't know. It was a slower fight, but at the same time, like, it didn't have the music like the training videos did. There was no crowd.
Hype,
there was
I'd
Snoop Dogg smoking weed.
I'll do it again.
It was just kind of slower and more like they even told you roll up your favorite fat one and enjoy this fight.
Oh my goodness!
Like
my goodness!
It was.
Well, I would say that they'll do that again, man. I mean, but I remember when Tyson was on Rogan, he goes, "Man, it's exhibition. We want to see, how good we are, what we can do." He goes, "I don't want anybody to get hurt, he made that comment. So I figured he was probably pretty pleased after the fight.
Roy sounds like wisdom and maturity is kind of prevailing.
When Roy would tie him up, I mean, he, you know how he still like he had that way of like, you know, and like he would shift his whole body, you know, and like it was, boom. I mean, his counter was just unbelievable, and like it was almost like he was countering the. You know, whenever Roy would tie him up, he was countering his tie-up with just breaking ribs. And, I mean, Roy would go back and, 2 minutes around, so, I mean, it would go by pretty quick as a spectator. He would go back to his stool. You know, because, I mean, I'm sure he was just...
breath out of him. Disrupt everything.
And Tyson just... And I mean, I thought... God.
Did anybody land a clean shot?
Roy Jones caught him with the left hook one time.
Really? Did it phase him a little bit?
Oh, he hit him.
Yeah.
And like Tyson's, so like I forget that announcer's name. He asked Tyson at the end. He goes, you know, so what did you know, he was hitting you, and so what did you do after you caught that left jab or left hook? And Tyson goes, well, I went to Plan B and I hit him back. It was great. I mean, I thought. I mean, was it the most exciting fight? I mean, like I think that the UFC has. It seems to be pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Where do you fall on that, Scott? Are you like a purist boxing guy, or what do you? How do you like the MMA and?
I enjoy MMA more than boxing.
Okay.
Here's where my dissatisfaction kind of comes in with UFC. When it became more the flamboyant, you know, you kind of begin to see it drift almost towards the WWE and a lot of the showboating and weigh-ins and all that. And I'm just thinking, I'm not into that.
So you didn't like the Conor McGregor Floyd Mayweather debacle?
No, I didn't. But I got to tell you what, you know, when you watch these guys, some of these guys. Some of them I've enjoyed watching so much over the years. I can't tell you wholly much about it, but you watch, you know, I know that this guy is a BJJ, he's a ground fighter, and this guy's a striker, and you think, oh my God, they're both dangerous in their own element. So what happens when you mash them together and you start saying, you know, if he can't take him down, he's going to pound him standing up. If he gets him down, then he's in a different world down there. And
could be Nurmagomedov, man.
So you get to see all this, you know. So when you go back even farther with the. You know, there's some fighters, man, I just have a lot of respect for, not because of the way they conducted themselves in and out of the octagon. And then there's other fighters, not that they didn't conduct themselves right, but just their style. Clay Guida. You don't hear much about Clay Guida. He is coming back. But he was so aggressive and he was so relentless, he just stayed on it's like a pit bull.
Yeah.
He just kept fighting. And man, it's hard to deal with somebody like that.
I loved like the Tito Ortiz, Chuck Liddell saga.
Back in that era, that whole era.
Yeah.
But Tito was one of them that you just get turned off by. It's like,
he was the villain. You're telling me like you're kind of the guy that like you believe the UFC like that's a sport, so there should be some class amongst competitors.
I think the entertainment should be focused more on the skills rather than what color your hair is and how loud you are and what's the most insulting thing you can say, because to me that just takes it down another road.
Yeah.
And
well, I always try to look at the positive, and the positive is it entertains the shit out of me.
It is entertaining. Everyone has their own taste.
Well, I'll tell you, man, it's violent, man. I mean, it's you know.
Man, maybe I need to come see you because I've always been scared to death. You've probably heard me say this on the show. You know, I'm in the bar all the time, you know. And, now with COVID, you know, things just winding down a little bit earlier, so it's not that big an issue. But, you know, I'm scared to death one of these times where I'm going to have to get somebody out there and they're going to be trained. You know, I think I can handle YouTube trained, but if like they're
if they're legit,
Well, I tell you what, I learned real early on that whenever I was in there, I wasn't drinking.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
well, that creates probably the best scenario. The greatest single advantage is a guy being sober versus a guy that's drunk.
I found it out. And I didn't like it. You know, and it's not the fact that anything bad happened, but it was the fact that I was in there, I was done, I was hanging out with my buddies, and then something happens. Well, who's got, you know, at that point in time, I was, you know, kind of in there as a patron.
Yeah.
You know, so much as, I mean, I'm not ever just a patron, but I'm saying.
No, yeah, I know.
And so then you got to get up, and maybe if I hadn't had a little sauce in me, I would have probably handled that a little bit better. But
well, there's a lot of dynamics come into play on stuff. I know one of the classes I teach is pre-fight indicators. Mm-hmm. What are you looking for? What should I be looking for?
Yeah,
and it goes on. It really. And this feeds back into the philosophy of things and knowing how to read the tea leaves, and then you make your decision based on the analysis you've applied to the facts at hand. And
I love it. Sounds like get your brain working.
Yeah, get your brain working and assess this situation. Is this something I want to get involved with, or if I have to get involved with it, how can I best handle this? But
it sounds like so much of it is also about like where you position yourself in the room, or like where like stuff that you don't think about unless you're trained.
I got a buddy. I bust his balls all the time, Eddie Hughes.
Eddie's a good guy.
Don't give him any credit at all, but feel free to roast his ass.
Eddie, you're a good guy, man.
I got to give him a plug. He had a mortgage the other day, 1.75%. So I got to give him a plug. He does a lot for me. But Eddie, he trained with Curtis for a while years ago. I don't know the whole backstory behind all that, but I know that they worked together some years ago. And I think Eddie went and did some competitions, and I learned this from him. We was somewhere one night, and I was like, "But you just stick that chin out there, like it's you're just putting a target on that chin, like you got to quit that." And he's like, "Oh, but I'll never swing first." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Oh, I'll catch him off balance." And so he showed me how he does that, and I thought, my God, what a deadly move this could be, and just one little move could just really save you,
if you can get out of the way of that first one.
Well, that's the kicker. And that's what I got to get better at. But he taught. I mean, it's amazing just how like little things like that, especially when it comes to the actual combat of the situation, not so much self-awareness, but because if you know that it's coming. That's it all kind of comes in there together.
Yeah, if you get like, dude, I don't want any trouble, man. Sorry, I thought you was somebody. You start, but in my mind, I'm already thinking.
You're gearing up.
Yeah, here it goes. Yeah, and then once you go, this is where the Krav Maga or the Bondo, I keep going until what I call the threat is neutralized.
Yeah,
and then when that happens, you don't stand over them and gloat. You don't be like, I'm out of there.
Yeah,
Krav Maga, no rules. Anything is a weapon.
Yeah,
and back on the competition thing.
Yeah.
That ashtray,
bam. Yeah.
This mic, whatever I've got to do to get out of here.
Yeah,
or accomplish or deal with the next person. So
right.
I know it's getting late for you guys. One thing, I teach this every seminar. This is simple, and I want you guys to start doing this. Share it with your family and friends. It's an easy one. I call it the 10-second game because it takes about 10 seconds to play, and watch how things begin to click in your mind. Maybe you're already doing this, but I'll simplify, make it a 10-second game. 3 things we look for, okay? First thing I walk into a room, I did it when I came in here. Not only am I fascinated with this little structure, but the first thing I want to know, where are my entrances and where are my exits?
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yep.
Where does that door go? Where does this door go? See, we're friends, so I can ask these questions. Otherwise, I've got to guess.
Yeah. Right.
Entrances and exits. Second thing, does anybody in the room make me feel uncomfortable?
Yeah.
And you make a note of that person. Sure. You make a decision right then and there. Yeah, that's Chad and I had trouble last week. I had to throw this guy out of the bar or whatever. Okay, he was, I don't want to be here. Come on, honey, let's go. Let's find somewhere else to go.
Right.
So you have to make that decision, or you stay and keep an eye on them.
Yeah.
And the third thing is identify anything in the room you can use as a weapon if you have to protect and defend yourself. So start playing that game. It takes 10 seconds. Hey, guys, how you doing? Man, I'm glad to be here. This place is really cool. Right off the bat, you start looking at things. And it'll help you.
Yeah.
That'll save you.
That's
at
awesome.
some point in time, a 10-second game.
That's awesome.
10-second game.
Yeah.
Doorways, exits. Anyone makes you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
What can I use as a weapon if I have to? Welcome to Krav Maga.
That's great.
There's lesson
There
number 1.
you go.
Yeah.
There's your Jason Bourne lesson.
Yeah.
There we go.
So where can they find you at? They can find you right now. You still on?
The only place I've got going is the YMCA on Monday night.
Okay.
That's the only regular class. Rest of it is seminars here and
Can
there.
new people come any class, or do they have to start at a certain point, or is
No. It's a rolling curriculum anyway. So even if they jump in, like tomorrow night I'm going to be teaching. Actually, I'm introducing the class to defense tomorrow. Because now I've taught them enough of what we call combatives, which translates to punching, elbows, and headbutts and all the other dirty stuff you do. What I need to do is put them in a scenario where their hard drive can link that and begin to write code on their brain. So now they know when to use it to link it all together. Boom, to go.
Okay.
I just don't want to punch. I don't want to back up.
So there's not a. So whenever you go to a class, and I think this is an important topic to discuss or talk about, I guess. If you did decide to go to the Y to your class, you're not. It's not necessarily that you are getting entry level. It's more of a, hey, you're going to jump in, and here's today's lesson.
That's it.
Now, today's lesson is not, you don't need, biggest part of the time, you probably won't need yesterday's knowledge. It'll be a new lesson.
No, you're absolutely right. And the things I tell people, I say, look, don't be apprehensive. Don't be timid about it. First of all, we have created a very tribe-like feel. And that's become one of my little catchphrases, find your tribe with us.
Right. Kind of Zumba-ish, not Zumba-ish, but the style of the class as far as everybody can jump in here at any time.
Yeah, it must be very welcoming.
Everybody's always glad to see each other, and you can just you can jump in at any time.
Yep.
And, I'm going to make sure that it makes sense to you.
Yeah. I've watched your classes. You're not like screaming at you're not, I mean, you're encouraging them.
Yeah, you do. You want to build.
That's one of the reasons
why
I wanted to have you on here. I thought that's a good dude right there. But I watched it. Hell, I'm sitting there, and I mean, I'm watching my kid just run sprints. So I'm like, hey, what's going on over here?
So if people wanted more information, can they check out? Are you guys on Facebook? Or
Yep.
Are you on,
Yep. Southern Ohio Krav Maga on Facebook
and Instagram.
Instagram is. Yeah, it's Southern Ohio Krav Maga, but I think she did the account for me. I think it's got a number 1 in front. She had to do something different.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it's both of them are Southern Ohio Krav Maga.
Okay, yeah. If you search that, I'm sure it'll
all
come
one.
up. So, man, we really appreciate you coming
really
on the
appreciate
show,
your time, man. That really
guys,
interesting.
thank you. I've had a blast. We didn't get into any of the stuff.
Well, we're just going to have to do it again.
Well, yeah.
That's what we always ask.
Yeah, we'll have you back. So
it'll be Scott King Part 2.
Yeah. So you'll be able to see this episode on YouTube. You can listen to it on Spotify at Chubby Bartenders.
Yeah. iMusic or the Apple Podcast.
Apple Podcast.
And just like and share, subscribe.
You guys are going to bring me to the next level on social media.
Oh, you got to check it out, man.
My mentors now.
A lot of people like to listen to it and watch it on YouTube. So if you want to listen watch,
I pick you guys up. Yeah.
I'm a more of a sit my phone down. I'll tell you what I really like to do. I don't know if you do this or not. I really like to throw my earbuds in at night. And that's what I do to go to sleep.
Listen to a podcast.
Pudge, it looks. I'm still old school. I read.
I get a book and read.
My wife says, "How do you do that?" Because I've got an upstairs book by the bed, I've got a downstairs book in the living room, and I got
you got 2 or 3 of them going at one time.
And she'll say, "I don't know." I said, "I don't know. I can just go from right where I left."
I never picked that up, man. I
love reading.
Do you really? Do you read a lot?
I did. I've kind of shifted into the podcasts a lot, but I used to read a bunch.
Yeah, I've read some. I'm a sales guy, so I'm going to read some. But there's always some guy wanting to fire you up. Mm-hmm. But what I noticed, I really did. Now I don't know what style of books you're reading, but like in the sales world, Chad will vouch for this. It's always about you had your Zig Ziglars and your what was Byler's boy Tom.
Oh man, he's gonna kill us. I can't think. That guy was great. Too.
Yeah, he was good.
Tom. I don't know.
Gosh, I can't remember. But, you have all these sales things, and I noticed. I read a couple of those, and the only son bitch that's gonna do it's you.
Oh, you know what? You're right. You're absolutely right.
I listen to these guys, or I've read some of these guys, and I'm not saying they're not good. I mean, they're good.
You can pick something out of anything, but you look at those motivational things like that, and it's like, hey man, none of that shit works unless you do.
Unless you do.
I'm not into the science fiction or fiction. I like military history. You guys figured that out.
I got a book I need to give you. I need it back. Because it's my only copy.
Okay, what is it?
It's called Across the Pond, and I don't know if you know this guy. Do you know this guy, Mike McCormick?
I know a Mike McCormick from Oak Hill.
No, this guy is from Jackson, and he graduated, I believe, in the class of 67 or 68. Mm-hmm. And he was real good friends with my dad. His dad was Ralph McCormick, who was the school superintendent. The county school superintendent, yes. So Ralph, okay, and to my knowledge, don't kill me. To my knowledge, the fat ginger in the what do they call it? Flannel shirt, Scott, take him out. But
right now,
yeah. But to my knowledge, he is the highest decorated Vietnam soldier in Jackson County history.
I'll give the book
to my knowledge.
I'd love to read that book.
And it's called Across the Pond, and it's basically his. It's only about 60 or 70 pages, it's he went in and it was down to him and another guy in his battalion. Is that right?
Yeah, could be. Yeah,
and he was overtaken by the Vietnamese, and he took out their battalion.
Wow.
And he just passed away. Sorry to say. He was a wild man. You could tell that Vietnam had got him. I was around him on several occasions since I was a child. He would come back to see his mom and dad. His mom and dad were great people. They were horse people with my dad and stuff.
Yeah.
So I always knew the family. And so when Mike would come home, he'd usually come see my dad, and I'd have run-ins with him here and there. And when he just moved back to Jackson about 3 years ago, probably 2-3 years ago, and then he came and he bought a huge farm. He was single, and the first, like in September, it got cold, and he'd been in California for the last 40-50 years, and he just said, hell with this, and he went back. But he was one of those guys that, the military had really, like, I don't want to say I guess it had scarred him. I mean, I don't know what he went through. I read the book, but I mean, I never lived it. But I mean, he was a lot like you say. He was you could tell whenever he walked into a room, like you could just tell that he was always aware.
Dialed in.
He was dialed in.
Yeah.
He was also a man that was very chest out, come get some type of a guy.
Deal with it.
Yeah.
I'd love to read the book.
It's
especially the local connection. I mean, to me, that's.
There's that, and then there's another one. I'll have to get you a copy. I'd love to introduce you to this guy. His name's Irv Charrington, and he's my neighbor out there. I don't know if you know Irv or not. Oh, he's one of the best.
Man, that sounds familiar.
One of the best, and another Vietnam guy. And so, long story short, he writes a book. And I forget what it's called, but he let me read it. And it's a short story, but whenever he was in the Vietnam, the guy that he was, his bunk partner or whatever, okay, big buddies, and I guess they're in the barracks or somewhere, and they was in the shit, and they said if we ever get out of this alive, we're going to float to Mississippi, okay. So years go by. Irv has a metal business down the road in Oak Hill, and somehow, I'm not going to get this story right, but somehow somebody came in that they were buying metal off of or something, and they said where they were from, and Irv said something along the lines of, well, I had a good friend from there, and the guy, and he said something like, or Irv said, he asked Irv, who was it, and Irv said, you wouldn't know him, and he said, try me. And he said it, and I guess it was the guy's like father-in-law, or there was some connection there, okay?
Yeah.
So they get together, like, I think it was within the last 10 years, and Irv's probably 73, 74, maybe 75. I don't think he's 75. He's probably 73. But so they get together in the last 10 years or so, and they go float to Mississippi.
That's a movie. I mean, that should be.
Yeah.
That's what I said when you
fate.
saw that.
It's kind of happening, and
they did it in a pontoon boat. And they took all their stuff and they floated to Mississippi.
Oh, man.
Savages.
That tugs at my heart, though. It's like, do it, guys, do it.
Yeah, it's great. So, but man, hey, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Really
Thank you
enjoyed
guys
it.
for having me.
Really enjoyed it.
Yes. Take care, man.
All right, buddy. Thank you guys.
Thanks so much.
See you.
Yeah.